Because you've got powerful legs. How'd you get the physique? Was it gym or how'd you get the physique?
I've always been...
She's actually not got powerful legs. Do you shower in your dressing room? Do you have a shower on the day of a fight or not? Tell us about the tattoos.
Shut the fuck up, you little prick.
But then I've got the Phoenix.
Hey, prick.
I'll take it from Bob every day of the week.
Absolute disgrace.
I'm sure no one will mind.
Move him out of here, Darren.
Ricky Hatton didn't go over for his fighter because he risked getting abducted and sold into sexual slavery.
I never said that.
Both have been rape victims. I'm not watching Frank Buglioni live on Saturday night. You're out of your mind.
Jesus Christ, get yourself a life.
He's actually a priest.
Yeah.
It's because his brother John Fury eye gouged him.
What have I told you all this time? He's going to end up sucked out, fucked out, looking for a handout.
Boxing nutters messenger group. I'm gonna be the king.
J-Pump, you know what I'm saying?
Welcome, folks, to the 616th edition of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse. You can catch us 8 o'clock in the UK, on Sundays, 12 o'clock Pacific time in the US, the next day, wherever you find your favorite podcasts. You can catch us at patreon.com/Boxing Asylum and get in on all of that action. We got some goodies in there. We get some extra writings and such from Mr. Steve Wellings as well. And I would like to also thank Peter for joining at the top tier of our Patreon. Thank you very much, Peter. We appreciate you and like having you aboard as part of the Boxing Nutters Messenger group and all of its shenanigans. So, but I am here today with Justin. We'll see who else rolls around today to discuss a weekend in boxing that was among the most pathetic things that I think that I have ever borne witness to since I really started following this sport. You have two cards, opposite sides of the world, that Turkey Al-Sheikh and a few other people were able to attend both. Amazing. One in Times Square, one back in Saudi Arabia. Now, all of this was supposed to set up big fights, and I argued profusely over the last week that you can't make this many plans in boxing without something falling apart, and that it did. But what was ridiculous to me in particular was you got to think these guys are making huge money, these fighters. Huge money. And they just, so many of them just phoned it in. It was incredibly lackluster, specifically the two top fights on the New York City card and the Canelo Alvarez-Williams Skull main event in Saudi Arabia. So in the fight between Rolly Romero and Ryan Garcia, and then Devin Haney and Jose Ramirez and Canelo versus William Skull, you had 6 fighters in there. 6 fighters who combined over, these were all 12-round fights, who combined to throw only 1,438 punches, which comes down to an average of 239.67, so call it 240 for math's sake, punches thrown on average by each fighter in their respective fights, which comes to an average of throwing, what would that be, about 20 punches around dead on. and they averaged landing just over 57 punches each fight, which is under 5 punches per round each fighter. 3 of these fights are now going to be in the top 5 lowest performing Compubox fights in the history of Compubox. Canelo Alvarez specifically might have been very lucky to get away with his decision there. I mean, there wasn't much to grab, but he only threw 152 punches, about 13 around. William Skull basically doubled his output, but they were equal in landed punches. Take your choice. I couldn't have been mad if Canelo had lost that fight. It wasn't the upset I predicted. We'll get to the upset that I did predict later on, but I don't know, Justin. This left a very bad taste in my mouth. And I think what I find particularly irritating, I mean, I don't think you could have been bothered either way who won based on, what it was. And the scorecards were 115, 113, 116, 112, and a 119, 109. But I cannot fathom how people think that William Skull had no argument at this fight. If a guy's throwing 13 punches around, the concept of outworking them to a victory, I mean, that's very, very easy. And Justin, I mean, Canelo is incredibly lucky that his name is Canelo Alvarez, because any other fighter, I mean, maybe give him a 50-50 of getting out of this fight with a W.
Canelo definitely won just because it was in Saudi Arabia, and there's no way in hell he was going to lose. I mean, we talked about this before. Skull had to knock him out. There's no way he was going to win a decision. But then if you really watched him, and I mean, I checked out. I checked out for the whole weekend. I watched the fights, but I mean, I wasn't like sitting there dead focused on them, because that fight was awful. Skull can blame himself for one reason, because it's not like he was lighting up the charts. He wasn't landing shit. He wasn't really throwing, and he ran. I think what hurt Skull more than anything is he just absolutely ran. Not a lot of people were like, "Oh, he had good ring." It wasn't even ring generalship. He ran. He flat out just sprinted at times. And Canelo, you're a pound for pound number one. Well, you're not anymore. You're not pound for pound number one. Canelo's not in my top 5. He's not that guy anymore.
Not anymore, no.
But Canelo, god awful. I mean, look how many fights the guy's had. He could not cut off the ring to save his life. He didn't even try. Canelo just followed him and then bitched the whole time. So it was pitiful from Canelo. Canelo to me, you saw him in the corner after like a couple of rounds. He looked like a guy that was there for the paycheck and could care less. He did not look like he wanted to be there. He didn't want to be fighting in Saudi Arabia in front of 210 people. I don't think he really wanted to be there. I think he was just like, this was definitely the definition of, I'm taking this outrageous amount of money.
Al-Sheikh doesn't get it. Canelo Alvarez on Cinco de Mayo weekend is something that is specifically special to Mexican and Mexican-American fans.
I think I made a point. I don't think Canelo has ever fought in front of a crowd this terrible. And even when he was a teenager, you imagine when he turned pro as a teenager, he was still sold out little arenas, but they were rocking.
Well, and I mean, or being on the undercard in some bull ring and fucking in Juarez or whatever. I mean, they were way better.
They were giving him instructions, and Canelo was just like, whatever. I mean, he just was like, he wasn't even really paying attention. I think he knew that I'm not going to lose to this guy. They're not going to give it to him. I'm doing enough. They're going to give it. This is all. I think the decision had already. I don't care. I'm not a big corruption guy, but come on. This decision was decided way before this fight even happened. Skull, I've never seen anybody in my life that was so happy to lose as Skull was. He was bringing his kid over to show Canelo. Like, he was over there high-fiving people in the crowd. It's like he just wanted to go to the end. He was taking the money. You've never seen a guy who was just pleased with himself that he didn't lose. Lost. So that fight, to me, sums up this, and we might get into it later. I'm just going to mention it now, but Crawford beats that Canelo last night. Single-handedly, Crawford would not have ran like that. Crawford would, if Crawford is on his game, and I think that Madrimov was a just Styles Crawford. I don't think that was. I don't read anything into that. If you read into that fight, that's a nothing fight to me. Madrimov is a tricky dude. I don't think Crawford. I don't look at that.
Who like you thought at the time, like really tried to grind it down to a snail's pace to not give Bud countering opportunities, but he still threw probably almost twice as many punches as Canelo did against Crawford.
Canelo is look at Canelo last night. Canelo is slower. He's slow now. He's a plotter. He doesn't move that. He doesn't really move that well anymore. I mean, you think about it. It's going to come back on you. All the fights he's been through. He's not the same person he was years ago. He has to work harder. He has to labor a little bit more to get through these fights. And I don't think who's hungrier. Crawford's going to be way hungrier than Canelo is. Crawford's going to be way more prepared than Canelo is. I do believe that Crawford. I don't care about the size because Canelo, even last night, Skull was towering over Canelo. Canelo might weigh 168. But he's still not a big guy. He's still not a big dude. And Crawford probably walks around close to the same weight Canelo does. I don't give a crap about the size. I don't care about any. I'm just talking about pure skill and ability right now. I'm going with Crawford to win a decision. He will beat Canelo. I'm almost 95% sure because I don't think Canelo but Canelo's had a lot of off nights recently. This wasn't one off night. Canelo hasn't looked good since what? Triple G 2? That he really looked good. I mean,
I'd say Plant.
Yeah, but Plant. I mean,
Plant's a good fighter.
How good is Plant?
Plant is a good fighter.
I say Plant, but I mean, look how long. Look how long that was.
No, it was. I mean, you're talking, 4 or 5 years ago. And one of the reasons, like I rate Plant is I see some of the old school boxers who have respect for Caleb Plant, so that tells me there's some quality there.
And Plant, he's got that inner city. He's grew up hard in the inner city, and on the streets, and so we know his background, Caleb Plant. But yeah, we could talk about Canelo all day. I mean, it was Skull. The bad thing about Skull was you could see if he had stopped running and engaged a little bit, he could have done something more in that fight. But he did not want to fight Canelo at all. And I do give Canelo. I do see where Canelo's coming from a little bit because Skull was not going to engage with him over his dead body. He was never going to stop for a second and fight him. Boom. That's the point. That's what happened. And like I said, we can go wherever you want to next, but God, Canelo, that he had to have been like, what the? I mean, the man is fighting in front of 100,000 people, but money's money. And if somebody is going to give you just a ridiculous amount of money, we all can say what we want to say right now, but you don't know what you would do.
But
or what you get into.
When you've gotten offers of good money in the past for work and stuff like that, haven't you tried harder? Like, what the fuck is this shit? Like, yeah, I don't know. Like, I would be offended if I'm paying their purses and stuff. Like on the fact, like, we give you this kind of money, and that's how you repay us.
That's what we'll get into with the Friday card. I imagine that Turkey was not happy with the. I mean, he's not. I mean, I don't know if he'll publicly say it, but if he's not going to be happy. If they had been Saudi citizens, it wouldn't have turned out well for him. I'll just say that because
someone's losing a finger.
He could not have been happy with the Friday card. Or we could go where we want to, but I'm saying there's no way he was happy with that.
Yeah, so this aircraft carrier is in the chat here. He's getting on us a little bit. And yes, Skull did stink it up. And we're not arguing that he didn't run. That was one of the first things that Justin said is that he ran. And he absolutely did. It was probably one of the worst cases of a fighter running that I have seen since Andre Durrell against Carl Froch.
Or Rigo's last fight versus that guy.
Yeah, it's just, and we're not saying that he didn't run. The argument is that Canelo should have done more. There were times when he had Skull up against the ropes and he didn't let his hands go the way he wanted to. And there were times,
you're right.
Yeah.
Canelo should have done more. Canelo is, if he's supposedly pound for pound, you don't let a guy run that much without doing. You have to cut off. You have to step different ways. He just kind of followed, and that's what we're like. You just said you have to. Canelo is not going to get a pass because the guy ran. You cannot give a fighter a pass because the guy ran, so it's cool. No, you have to stop him from running. Just like this, what was it? The Charlie Edwards fight we watched a few weeks ago. You don't get a pass for that fight. You have to stop him. Your job is you're trained. If he's going to his right, then you cut step this way. If he's going, you have to. I mean, that's stuff Teddy Atlas was talking about 30 years ago on ESPN. The way you the way you move your feet, the way you do your shoulder, the way you punches you throw. That's how you cut guys off and stop and slow the running a little bit. Canelo was happy with, I'm going to win this fight. I don't feel like messing around. I'm just going to follow him. He'll eventually slow down maybe. But then you heard Canelo's corner was like, he's not going to stop. I don't know if you remember that the Reynosos were like, you got to hurt him because he's not going to stop running. Like he's like, if you don't hurt him and you don't cut him off, he's not going to stop. And Canelo just couldn't do that.
Well, they went from thinking it was going to be an easy fight to like urging him on in the middle there, and the thing, like, the punches were so close, and yeah, if Canelo was landing the harder shots, but if you're really looking to split hairs in some of those rounds, which fighter made the other one fight their fight? William Skull made Canelo fight his fight. So if you're really trying, if you're really having a hard time separating these two fighters in this god-awful mess, ring generalship goes to William Skull.
Honestly, go with, I'd have been happy with a draw because neither guy deserved to win. Neither guy did enough.
No, a draw was perfect. A draw would have been
neither guy did enough to say, Canelo, you can have Canelo tattooed on your face. You love the man so bad. But there's no way you're going to tell me that Canelo fought a good fight and that he did what he was supposed to do and he landed the shot. The man threw less than 150 punches. He only landed that is pitiful. So I don't care how much you love Canelo. Sometimes you have to be honest with yourself and say, hey, my man didn't get it done. He didn't look great. He didn't do what he was supposed to do. He got through it. But to sit there and say, oh, we got to blame the other guy you cannot blame the other guy for running. You have to stop the other guy from running.
Yeah, and as far as it goes, Canelo got the W, which I'm not going to argue with. He's going to go into another huge payday. But who's going to want to fight William Skull now? Like, he's going to have to live off of that payday for the rest of his life, which I imagine.
No, but who the hell would sign up to fight? There's not one person like, yeah, I want to fight that guy. I mean, there's nobody in this world going to choose William Skull because you're not going to look good versus that guy. I don't care who you are because he is what he is. And he come out and said, I think he come out and somebody said it, that he told them, this is who I am. And I don't care who I fight. I'm going to do this. So now Skull, I'm sure Skull made a ton of money last night to basically give up his belt. I mean, it was one of those fights, like a Charles Martin thing. Give it up. We're paying for your belt. You got it. We're going to pay you for it. Just come in to show up. We're taking it from you. And yeah, I mean, he probably made a few million off of that fight because that they're paying these guys outrageous amount of money. But I don't know. There's not much left to be said about Canelo. It just is what it is.
No, this is done and over with. It's gonna be one of those easily forgotten fights because it's, like bar none the worst fight of his career. Like there's no argument that it was.
It's got to be unless we saw something. Unless it's something we've never seen when he was younger. This is definitely the worst one this is the worst Canelo fight I've ever seen.
Yeah, and it's just I didn't even really feel like part of what makes a Canelo fight fun is that he does load up on shots and he does typically trap guys and find him with something big and he can punch with both hands.
Yeah, but I never and he does things and you like watching him fight. I have never in my life just tuned out of a Canelo fight where I was like, I have no reason to keep watching this, like really watching it in a long time.
Yeah, it's like Mayweather versus Vladimir when like people
Yeah.
were like walking out in the 10th round.
Yeah.
They're like, fuck, we know how this is gonna go. We're out of here.
Yeah, because you could have turned. That was a fight I really thought last night about the 7th round. I'm like, I'm tired. I had a lot of. I've been doing a lot of stuff the last couple of weeks. Do I really want to stay? Because I knew what was going. I knew he was going to win, and I knew what was going to happen. But I was like, you know what? Screw it. I've stayed up this long, and I knew exactly. You just said it. You knew there was going to be no surprises at the end of 12 rounds. It was going 12, and we knew what was going to happen. So you didn't even have to finish.
Yeah, and hopefully we never see anything like that again. And this weekend got all this shit out, and we have a halfway decent boxing moving forward. We've paid our dues.
What was the co-main event? Was what?
Badu Jack against Noel McCallion. I know I was saying that wrong last week. Sorry, my eyes aren't that great, and I don't know how to pronounce half of these names. Me versus.
I didn't know he was. I didn't know McCallion was a Don Charles guy until last night.
I didn't. Yeah, I thought I had mentioned that. I was talking with one of his guys actually, and I just found that out last week.
Yeah, he was there, and I said, "That's Don." I looked at it, I was like, "I think that's Don Charles in the corner." I didn't know he. But apparently, McCallion, they said, likes to bounce. Like he's had a lot of trainers, and I don't know how long Don Charles has had him. But last night, I liked what Charles was telling him. It's just McCallion just didn't. When he threw, he landed. But then he would lay back too much, and I liked the instructions were what he should have done. McCallion just didn't do them.
Yeah, it was a close fight though. Again, didn't you think it could have gone either way? Like
I
thought the majority.
I had McCallion win. I thought McCallion won. That's who I thought was the guy. I kind of thought he edged it, but like I know Dez said last week he's a Badu Jack fan. He makes my head hurt.
You're my buddy Jason, man. I was talking to Jason.
He is such a basic dude.
And it's one of those things where he doesn't do anything great, but he does a lot of things well, and a lot of what Jack does that's very good is incredibly subtle. And it's even subtle when you're in the ring with him. And that's why there are oftentimes lower pace fights decided by very thin margins. And you have to consider this, Jack isn't a natural cruiserweight. I mean, he's probably, put on muscle to be walking around at this weight from his prior weights. But as I was mentioned last week, like as much as a lot of people don't like Jack and they just can't get behind him, over the last 10 years, I mean, he has put together an argument for a Hall of Fame career. He really has.
It's not that I don't like him. It's that he is the definition of vanilla. And I think you just summed it up a second ago. Jack is one of these guys that if you judge his fight, you have to know boxing. You can't be a judge that just goes by certain criteria because like you said, you have to really pay attention. And Jack does a lot of little subtle things that if you don't know boxing, you won't catch them. Just like little things, when he steps to the side, little things he does that actually helps him win the round. But if you're not really paying attention, you're going to miss a lot of that stuff. And I think that's one reason why his fights are so close. But I think last night was funny. We've had, recently we've had a lot of, after the bell punches and guys getting disqualified and all that shit. Mm-hmm. There was a moment, I don't know if anybody listening remembers this, but there was a moment that Jack was coming up with a right hand. McCallion had his hands down, the bell rang, and Jack went, whoop, threw his arm down. 90% of the fighters in this world would have kept going with that punch. And they might not even called it late. Because it was going towards his face when the bell rang. But Jack just slipped and pulled it back, and then him and McCallion looked at each other, and McCallion started laughing like, oh, shit. McCallion gave him a smile like, damn, I'm glad you pulled that. Because he would have took his head off. And that was just like, I just thought that was funny because they both kind of looked at each other like, oh, okay, cool. Like that would have been really bad for both of us if I'd have kept going with that shot. But that's just the little stuff about boxing I like is just a little look between each other was like, okay, that could have been bad. But Jack, I mean, I guess you've got Jack, he'll still get some more shots. You've got Gilberto, whoever he's fighting next. They'll probably get that tattoo dude, Rositsky, back in there. and
that's
Jack
the
will beat
reason this
him.
fight happened is Rositzky had to pull out, so McKellian kind of came in on a slightly
Rositzky,
short notice.
It was like 2 or 3 weeks. It wasn't a huge notice, but Rositzky is so basic that I don't see Jack having any problem with that. Rositzky just does it. McKellian or McKellian, how you want to call him, is better than Rositzky. And Rositzky is a very come forward, simple guy, and I don't think Jack will have any issue with him because I've watched Rositzky fight on those, Eye of the Tiger cards, and he's nothing. He's a workman-like guy, and you're not going to beat Badu Jack just being a solid workman type fighter. You got to have a little bit more to you, and so he's not going to have enough. But that fight, it was probably the second best fight on the card. I think the next fight was probably the best. Actually, the next fight was probably the best of all the fights on both cards. Would be the next one.
Oh, are you talking about Jagba against Piccoli?
Yeah, I'd have to say that was the only one that I actually liked out of all the fights on both, even undercard fights, both pay-per-view cards. The only fight I actually enjoyed was Jagba and Piccoli. That's the only one that ended up being a good fight.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, and it's obviously toast now. I mean, it doesn't matter what happens tonight. But if you had a parlay that was a Jagba to win, McKellian to win, and Inoue fight to go over 5.5 rounds, would you feel a little done wrong yesterday?
I think I know that you were the one that had that because you were pretty pissed about the Jagba draw. I had a Jagba. I had 3 bets going, different things I did. So I didn't have a draw on any of them. So when that draw happened, all my bets were gone. My parlays were gone, all because of that draw. I'm not surprised that it was a draw, but yeah, it really screwed me over on everything I had going.
That's why you got to stay away from method a lot of the time when you're putting together those bets.
Yeah, you just have to go with it.
Because the draw would just push otherwise. Yeah,
that was a tough. But Piccoli, once again, he come in fat. He always does. I think somebody in the messenger group said he lost a ton of weight in the last 2 weeks. Like he had to lose like 20, 30 pounds just to still look fat. But I'll give him this. I mean, the first 2 rounds were bad, and I really thought we were going to be in for like more of the same. But then he started to open it up. Jagba started doing some pretty good countering, and then it actually ended up being a pretty good heavyweight fight. For heavyweight, the heavyweights are a different standard. You have to put them at a different standard than you do the lower weights.
It's a different sport. I argue that till I'm blue in the face.
But the heavyweights, that was a good level heavyweight. That was a pretty decent heavyweight fight. They were both throwing. They were landing. I believe if Piccoli had been in better shape, Jagba wouldn't have lasted 12 rounds. Piccoli would have gotten him out. But Piccoli just wasn't in shape enough to keep it up because he had to take a round off every round. He had a good round, but he had to take a round off. If he would have been in better shape, and that's where I just kept thinking during the fight last night, Billy Nelson has to shut up. Or be better at a trainer. Be better as a trainer or do something different because he has went on that Piccoli is this. He'll defend Piccoli like it's his son. But man, if he keeps showing up horribly out of shape, having to laboring, then why are you trying to sell us?
Piccoli is at risk, and it's not a bad risk because he made shit ton of money out of it. But Piccoli is a risk of becoming like George Kambosos and eating for the rest of his life off of one victory, and it's going to be one that doesn't matter at the end of the day. I mean, Teofimo Lopez is a special fighter, and Jared Anderson is your average freaking American heavyweight at the end of the day. But he's going to be eating off of the back of that fight for the next 3 fucking years.
Well, Piccoli is setting himself up to be a guy that 10 years from now you'll be like, oh, you remember that Martin Piccoli? Man, wonder what he could have done. He's gonna be that kind of guy.
Like Sam Peter, right?
Yeah, exactly. You're like, wonder what he could have been if he would just have said, the only fights that he took serious, and I think it was Thomas Newman on the message board group said it. he has only looked good and in great shape when he's been the massive underdog. When he's come in as like even favorite or favorite, he's looked just horrible.
Yeah.
Maybe he is one of these guys that has to have like a chip on his shoulder. He has to be. Maybe that's what him and Billy Nelson have to have. They have to be like the super underdog because you remember Yoka. I think when I don't, do we even still do the betting thing in the messenger group?
No, we stopped the prediction league, I think.
Okay, well, I stopped a long time ago. But when I was in it, I think I was one of the only like 3 people that took Bacoli to beat Yoka because, Yoka was terrible. But versus Yoka and Anderson, Bacoli looked like a legit heavyweight. But then you get him versus some other guys, you're like, what in the hell is he doing? Last night, Ojagba is not really even a top 20 guy. He's a solid dude, but Bacoli, all the shit and the trash they talk cannot be going to draws and showing up with a gut versus F.A. Ojagba. A guy who has been to war with multiple journeymen you cannot be going. Frank Sanchez beat the hell out of him. You cannot be going to war with these guys. So Bacoli, but if Bacoli is in shape, this is how I always put Bacoli. If he's in shape, he could beat like Joshua. He won't beat Usyk, he won't beat Fury, but he could beat Anthony Joshua because the way he throws those wild shots and he could hurt him.
Anyone who will ultimately fight backing up that he can big man, he'll probably beat him.
But he won't beat Usyk, Fury, no. But Bacoli, I think right now, I don't know where he goes. Nobody's really going to be looking to get him. I think maybe if Dubois loses to, I can see Dubois fighting him. If he loses to Usyk, that would give Dubois kind of a name to get him back in there. I think Dubois is the only big fight he probably get. Maybe Caballel might fight him. If Zhang's not, still not about to die, he might come back and fight him. There's going to be fights for him, but as far as him fighting for a title, he did not help. He hasn't helped himself at all the last few fights.
From what I saw last night, I'll tell you that I think that Caballel against Bacoli would be fun while it lasts because he's just Caballel's just fine hanging out on the inside and going to the body, as we well know, and it'll be fun while it lasts. But he's got so much more craft than Bacoli in there. You'd have to heavily favorite Caballel, and but I'd like to see F.A. Ojagba get a chance at that if Caballel doesn't get a title shot next, which is ridiculous. I mean, they're avoiding this guy like the plague.
Ojagba didn't hurt his stock last night. He actually he wasn't really supposed to win, so actually he kind of got himself another fight because he did what he was supposed to do. He wasn't really supposed to win. I think it was set up for Bacoli to win, and he kind of, he got a draw. He showed that he could take a punch. He landed some good shots. He just doesn't have the power at heavyweight to really turn around a fight because he landed some really good shots on Bacoli and didn't really do anything.
Yeah. He didn't move much. And I saw enough last night that I would favor Caballel against Ojagba, probably stopping him somewhere after the 7th, maybe.
We'll probably see Anderson versus Ojagba next. Give Anderson one more, give him one more chance to see what he can do. That would make sense.
Wouldn't that be something if Anderson got his redemption and just completely derailed what little plans they might have for Ojagba? I mean, because they've been nursing Ojagba along slowly towards the title shot for 5 years now or something like that.
Well, Frank Sanchez knocked him off, and then Anderson. I mean, I think Anderson and Ojagba is definitely one of those loser goes home kind of fights. And then, or you go to PBC, or not PBC, you go to Probox if you lose. They like getting those. They like bringing those guys in. But I like Ojagba. I think he's a decent fighter. He's got a lot of heart. It's just he just doesn't bang, and that's hurting him. And because he was an Olympian. He's got crisp shots. He's got good combinations. He just doesn't have that pop at heavyweight to really turn it around.
No, which is one of them surprising things, you know. Like he's just like looks like he's chiseled out of rock, but
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
not a massive puncher. I mean, he's a bit of a thudding puncher, but he's not like a snappy knock you the ass out and puncher. And Bacoli, Ian, is just one of them big, heavy-handed guys who just kind of mows you over.
Definitely.
But yeah, it was that was a pretty good fight, and I'm trying to think what there was one other on there.
We had the Leon guy, which was in a boring fight versus you had Brandon Leon, the Cuban guy that's like 6-0 with 6 knockouts. He had a 8-round decision. He looked really plotting. He didn't look well. Then you had the only guy I honestly, out of all the prospects that we saw, was the Verde. The Reynoso's, he was like a silver medalist at the last Olympic for Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
His opponent was terrible. Like the first shot he threw, the guy went down. And like he did not want to be there, but he's southpaw. He looks like he could be something. He is really. I think they've got something there. I mean, he's got to win a silver in the Olympics at the lower weight classes. You got to have some kind of it ain't like heavyweight. I mean, I don't take credence. Yeah, you're decent, but Deontay Wilder won a bronze medal, and he was god awful amateur heavyweight boxer. But to win it at a lower weight class, that means you've definitely got some really good stuff. And he's got a little pop to him, it looks like. That's the guy I'll definitely, because he's going to get the push because he's signed for Canelo. He's like a Team Canelo guy. So we're definitely going to see a lot of him.
Yeah, the fight that we missed was, and it wasn't a bad fight, was Jaime Munguia and Bruno Sarachi rematch. I'll say Sarachi instead of Sarachi as I had been.
The only winner of that fight was Sarachi because he beat him the first time, kind of a close fight the second time. Munguia's stock doesn't go anywhere. He just keeps dropping. But Sarachi has earned himself because he backed up the knockout. Yeah, he lost, but he was in another competitive fight, so he showed that it wasn't a fluke.
Yeah, I think he gets a payday out of that.
Yeah, he showed that he's a decent fighter because he went 12 hard rounds again with Munguia. So Sarachi, or whatever you want to call him, he's going to get another fight because of that. And Munguia, man, he's just going to get laid out again if he goes up a level.
There's some good competitive fights out there for him. Like I think there's some guys out there where we still don't know what their level is, and he'd be a good measuring stick potentially. And I think based on things that we do know, I think that him and Edgar Berlanga would be a really fun fight that would probably favor Munguia.
I think Berlanga's fighting Shiraz, though.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I think Shiraz is going to touch him up pretty badly.
But that's a pretty big step up in weight. That's your pretty big fight for your first step up in weight is to fight Berlanga. Even though we don't rate Berlanga that much, Berlanga is all attitude. He's not going to come to lose. And Shiraz, basically, you can say he shit the bed versus Adames. Either he had a bad weight cut or that's who he was. But Berlanga is going to ask questions. I mean, much as I can't stand Berlanga, Shiraz is going to be in for a tough fight.
I
believe it will be.
I don't know. I think that there's enough about Shiraz. I mean, I know you're saying you go off and think, Adames isn't that great, and he wasn't able to get past Adames at the end of the day. But I think Adames is better than Edgar Berlanga. I don't even think it's much of a stretch to say that. And I actually think
he is. You're right. He is better than Berlanga. But I'm just saying that I give them credit because they didn't pick a no-name random guy to move up in weight for. They picked a competitive guy, I guess is the best way to put it.
I think that the Shiraz people really, this is a very calculated decision because I think that there's enough knowns about Berlanga that they think they can take him out because it's just the length of his levers and shit like that, and the way that Berlanga has struggled with X, Y, and Z in the past, and I just see Shiraz picking him off at distance and laying him out.
Well, you know what? It's either going to. This is one of those fights. It's either going to be a home run, or it's going to end, or it's going to be a horrible decision for him because if he wins, his stock is back up where it was. He's at a new weight. He beat a competitive top 15 guy. But if he loses, where in the hell do you go from there? It is like it's the bottom of the barrel then. If he loses, I don't know where. It's a calculated decision that if it pays off, you're gonna look like a genius. But if it doesn't, then I'd fire him.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, that's the kind of fight this is.
Yeah, but it's going back to Munguia real quick. I think outside of that fight, I would also think that I'd like to potentially see him as a measuring stick against 3 fighters come to mind: Iglesias, Pacheco, or and Billy. I think all 3 of those fights, there's enough unknowns about those fighters that a Munguia fight is still very
they just announced his fight. He's fighting Trevor McCumbee on the undercard of the Bam Rodriguez Cafu.
Yeah, and I think McCumbee got a really, really rusty Caleb Plant, and he's I don't.
Well, I'm actually going to that fight. I'm actually going to the Rodriguez Cafu fight.
Fuck yeah,
in Frisco. My nieces and nephews live about 4 hours away, and so we're going to go there. Then we're going to drive about 4 hours to Frisco, and just get freaking destroyed Friday and Saturday, and then come back Sunday. But yeah, the tickets hadn't come on sale yet, but Bam's one of my favorite guys to watch, and a unification that I like Pacheco too. He should actually knock McCumbee out, but we'll see. Like I said, I hadn't been to a fight in about a year or so it'll be cool to get back and actually get to a card, and it's easy to get to, and then you can see the family and go see some Gators and stuff. So it'll be cool.
Right on, man. And joining us right now, Dez has hopped in. He's broken free of prior engagements. Dez, we just wrapped up the Canelo card, haven't touched on the New York card, so feel free to give us your thoughts on anything on that Canelo card, and then we'll go on to Times Square.
How you doing, Matty? Hope you're well. How you doing, Justin? Hope you're both well. Thanks for what you're doing for the last 40 minutes. You've been brilliant.
Yeah, well, I think everybody should be thanking us for suffering through all those fucking fights over the last fucking 2 days.
Yeah. It was like so. As a boxing fan, I've just become a moaner. I can hear myself moaning, and my wife says to me, "Why do you even watch this anymore?" Because on the back of last week, when sort of, I don't know, 60-70% of the viewing audience were really enamored by it, the Benz and the Eubanks and everything that it come with it. And you'd have thought this was a tonic that boxing fans needed this weekend. You'd have thought this was what we needed to remedy last week. Now, last week was more about, will the dad turn up? What's the dad going to wear? What type of shorts are they wearing? What's the walkout going to be like? Are they going to have a punch up? What are the promoters going to do? And it was everything but the boxing. And for guys like us, we didn't see a very high quality of boxing, all except Vidal Riley and the kid McKenna. Everything else on that card let us down. But everybody else was really excited by it. We thought this weekend would be the balancer. I just found it really sterile. I found it dull. And it just seems to me now, in boxing, there seems to be this... They've got this vision of what utopia looks like, but it's too much upfront money, celebrating mediocrity. We're still not getting the best fighting the best. We're still marinating and overcooking. And the one thing boxing needs, and it's like a good pair of shoes with a bad suit, boxing needs a crowd. A crowd can lift the fight. You might have 2 very average fighters, but if you've got a good crowd, if you've got atmosphere, if the crowd, the public, the culture is an embodiment of the fighters, then it carries the sport a long way. And what we've seen this week, it's almost like it's taken all the good things out of boxing, and we've now got shadows of our brilliant fighters. And let's be clear here. We all like Ryan Garcia, and Devin Haney comes with a value. We all think Tio is the purest athlete.
Well, hold on. Don't get into that. Don't get into these. We haven't touched on
No,
these
I won't.
yet.
No, I won't. But you get my sentiment with the Friday card. And then we've got Canelo.
Yeah, you
and
were looking forward
Bacoli.
to it because they were on paper well-matched fights at a higher level than Ben versus Eubank.
Well, Ben's never won a belt, and Eubank's always struggled above British level. No disgrace there, but that's what it is. But you can pitch it, turn it around, and sell it how you want. But if you're a boxing person, it's FA Cup football. It's a Championship team or a League One team playing a Premier League team or playing in a Premier League stadium, whatever. But this weekend should have been a celebration of boxing. It should have been a little bit of a festival of boxing. It should have been quirky. It should have been exciting, but it wasn't. And the performances were bland, sterile, dull, going through the motions, guys being paid too much money, not turning up in shape, guys going through the routines, going through the motions. With the Canelo thing, when you get to a level that Canelo's at, you can't stand in lukewarm water. It has to be hot, and that's why them guys fight 3 times a year. It's big fights, and every fight is a challenge. But Saturday night wasn't a challenge. Now I spoke about William Skull on Friday. He's got that twitch muscle style. He's very athletic and he's very mobile. He just got on his bike. It was like another version of the Charlo and Canelo fight. It was like watching that all over again. It was just someone that was athletically very good, very mobile, who was a great reactor, fast, snappy punches, but just didn't want to engage. He had no intent on engaging. And I think he switched Canelo off because I think Canelo knew after round 1, there's no way this guy beats me tonight. So he just kind of followed him around in straight lines. He had no intention in cutting the ring off. He had no intention of putting him in corridors. When he had to be alpha, when there was an opportunity to exchange, I thought Canelo was the alpha in there. I thought Canelo was more proactive out of the two, but it was still a really dull fight. And you're now looking at Canelo, who we're talking about in the language of one of the top 5 Mexicans of all time. He's now going on the downturn, and I can absolutely see Bud getting hold of him and giving him a bloody good hiding purely because Bud is of that. And Canelo seems to be one of these guys that's just, he's hanging around in lukewarm water. And if you're hanging around in lukewarm water, you do not want to go into a big fight against a brilliant fighter, a world-class fighter, a world-class hard man, a puncher, a physically strong kid like Bud Crawford, who I think's hot. So I'm not quite sure if they've got this one right. I'm not quite sure if William Skull was the right opponent. But then, what do you do with Canelo now? You know, he comes with a great value. You want to get him out, but we're diminishing the product. So I sound like I'm moaning again, and I probably am. But
every boxing fan is moaning after this.
Oh,
There's very few people who are like saying, you know, if you really know the technical aspects of boxing, no, everyone's saying, what did they put us through this weekend?
And it shouldn't have been like that because there was ingredients Friday and Saturday to have a really exciting weekend. And I was genuinely looking forward to the pod this Sunday. And we had a pre-fight on the Friday. We was looking forward to this. But anyone, I don't know what people go for now. I mean, I'm in the old school. I like my boxers to be of a level. I like my boxers to put a shift in. I like my boxers to be fighters. And we didn't see any of that this weekend. We see guys that almost like, nah, the losing doesn't bother me so much. And how I perform and how I look isn't that big a deal. And it never used to be like that. So that was Canelo. Bacoli and Jagba was on that card as well, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. Martin's too heavy. He fights. I don't know what to say about that one. I heard Justin say something that was bang on. It was a good heavyweight fight. And you have to say that. It was a good heavyweight fight. But I just think there's a little bit more from Martin Bacoli. But I don't think we're ever going to see it now. I think it's done. I think he's had too much money. And we've rewarded Martin's mediocrity because I think he could have been a lot better. So understand me when I say that. I think Martin Bacoli could have won a version of a world title. We've seen worse world champions whilst he's been an active boxer, but he's been really well paid for never having to fight for world titles, and I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite sure if Martin or Billy have now got enough in them to go for that big push and be the best versions of themselves. I think we might have seen the best of Mike Bacoli.
Isn't it's got to be tough sometimes. Like, you got to think like Bacoli, if he wants to go, hang out in the DRC or whatever, with what he's made and shit over the last couple of years, he'd have to be probably in like the wealthiest 2% of Congolese, right? It's hard to give a fuck at that point in time, right? Like, when you've like seen shit and you like child armies and people coming and taking kids in the middle of the night to create those armies and shit. Like, it's like, you got money now, you're just like, that was the point, right? I guess I'm done.
He might be in the top 2% wealthiest people in the part of Scotland that he's living in. He's not just the Congo. He's got a few bob.
You might be one of the 100 wealthiest people in all of the Congo.
He's got
to be top 20. Top 20 in the Congo, definitely.
I'm not. Look, we're going to go into. Don't be surprised if Martin Bacoli runs for president of the Congo at some point. Martin Bacoli's made. He's there, but we now want to see Martin Bacoli drop 2.5 stone. Which means you've got to work really hard, and you've got to discipline yourself, and you've got to dedicate yourself. You've got to be infused and inspired. And you've now got to fight killers of the division, either coming up or that won't go away. And Martin's probably thinking, no, I'll do that, but if I do it, it'll be on my terms.
You know who he reminds you of? Sorry, he reminds you of is Steve's favorite guy, Orlando Solis. Or Solis, remember the Cuban heavyweight?
He's got a Cuban feel about him, Martin.
Yeah, it's like, remember, it's
he's
like
got a Cuban feel about him.
If he just took it serious one time, if he just said, for 2 years, I'm going to watch the diet. Yes, you're right. Bacoli would give everybody. I'm talking about
Orlando Solis,
everybody.
yeah, SpongeBob. He had so much talent. He was schooling Vitaly Klitschko, one of my favorite heavyweights, for 4.5 minutes. And then his leg just fucking gave out on him because he's so fucking fat.
No, yeah,
he's not battle hardened. Yeah, you've got to be battle hardened for this.
He just didn't want to do it. Some people don't want to go that extra mile, and I think Bacoli is starting to put himself in that category of, I'm not going to go the extra mile. I'm going to do enough, but I'm not going to do more than enough. And if you don't do more than enough at this game, you're not going to be the top of it. That's just is what it is.
But what I would say, Matty, is we can't downplay a Jagba role in this as well. A Jagba showed up, 6'6", in good shape. He had a wonderful jab, lean back, right hand counter going on, and it caught Bacoli out a few times. And when Bacoli let his hands go, he puts his shots together well. But there's no pace changing in Bacoli. It's almost like Bacoli was quite happy to swim with a Jagba. And what he should have been doing is swimming away from him. He should have been pulling away, and he should have been putting his foot on the pedal. But he never did. And look, a Jagba didn't go quietly, and a Jagba was stubborn. But if I'm honest, I think Bacoli should have been maybe just half a step ahead of a Jagba, and he wasn't. And he allowed the fight. He allowed rounds to get away from him, and he allowed a Jagba to have successful pockets in the fight. And Jagba was looking after himself. He was counter punching with that right hand. He was active with a jab. Martin Bacoli done the walking him down thing because he fancied it, and he wasn't over impressed with his power. But in doing that, he got his head snapped back a few times. He did let his hands go. He had successes, but it's a time when Martin and Billy could have said, look, the Parker thing was something we had to do. I do understand that was our junior.
It was a once in a lifetime paycheck. Fucking, if you broke your neck, you would have been set for life.
But more than that, you're getting well paid, but you're keeping people in the game very happy. You're taking Turkey Al-Sheikh really happy. You're keeping Frank Warren really happy because you're gonna add something. You're gonna add a value to a show that's just been dented by a dropout. So look, we've got to do it. We're gonna get well paid. It's your Junior Witter and Zab Judah moment. We don't expect you to win, but we don't expect you to stink the place out. After that result against Parker, Billy Nelson and Bacoli should have sat down and said, we know we're going to get a favour returned. So let's have a bit of time off because it was a heavy knockdown, and let's keep our diet in check. Let's keep our weight right. Let's do what we can, when we can, how we can. And the minute the phone rings, we're going to be halfway to being fit and active and ready. And then we're going to have an 8-week camp. And then Martin could have really been the best version of himself last night. I don't want to talk down a Jagba. I don't want to dismiss him like he wasn't part of it and he didn't have an effect on Martin's performance. But I just think Billy and Martin, I'm not quite sure you've shown us the best version of you. And I think in sport, you get a window. And Bacoli's window might have closed. He might have had his best time. We might have seen the best of him. And now there might be a few heavyweights that have just superseded him. And just to wrap this one up for you, mate, I know you've got a schedule.
No, you're fine.
There was a time, not just on the back of the Anderson result, there was a time when I thought Martin Bacoli would have been a problem for anyone. And he's got a very good chance of beating most. Now, if you catch him right on the right night, I don't know if Martin Bacoli gets past, I don't know, maybe an informed Fabio Wardley. Maybe if you gave Moses Atoma another 8 months. I'm not quite sure if Martin Bacoli's youthful enough, sprightly enough, infused enough, ambitious enough to get past them type of heavyweights. And I've never said that before about Martin Bacoli. But I've seen too many of these nights, what we saw last night. A little bit lethargic, definitely overweight, and just not knowing how to put his foot down. So I'm just thinking we might have seen Martin Bacoli's best days.
Well, and you said they basically owed him one for going in there against Parker, and getting those draw cards might have been his return, and there's nothing else on the back end for him. And he'll just get thrown into the deep end, and he'll have to come out swimming. If so, anyhow.
But sorry, Matty, just to finish up on that, mate. Billy Nelson and Martin Bacoli would have been told, do us this favour and we'll do you one. So 24 hours after the Parker fight, they could have had a cup of coffee and said, well, the phone's going to ring soon and we're going to be given a fight we can win for good money on a big show. So let's be ready. They would have known it was happening, it was coming. And when you see Martin turn up like he did, and then you see the performance, and then you look across Martin's best 5 results, and the weights are so all over the place. Like there's 2 stones, 2.5 stones, sometimes 3 stone difference between the Takams, the Yokers, the Andersons, the Parkers. Last night, you just think, do they even know what their best weight is? Have they got structure to this?
Well, they actually knew the fight was coming because remember, this fight never got changed. The Parker was just like a throw-in, and he was still always going to fight this fight. That's the bad thing about it. He knew this was coming, and they still weren't ready for it.
That's my point. After the Parker fight, they could have sat down over a coffee and said, the phone's going to ring. We're owed one. So let's make sure I ain't got to pull you back from the Congo. Let's make sure you ain't eating out of a skip. Let's make sure, you don't balloon up to the size of a house. Let's be ready for this.
That's the bad thing about it is this date was set in stone like 6 months ago. He still was not ready for it. They didn't even have to have the coffee. He just
I catch you.
Wasn't ready.
Yeah.
He just wasn't ready.
So it seemed like we're hitting Bacoli on the head, but on this pod, we've championed Bacoli as well. We
have.
So.
Yeah, and Rob, he loves these big fat guys. They're his favorite people around, and he always backs them. Rob, this big fat guy let you down. The Canelo fight probably let you down. It's all been a big letdown. We haven't talked about the New York City card yet, but anything on the Canelo card, feel free. There were a couple of bright spots on there, but just a disappointing weekend for boxing.
Sum it up. Someone said about the card in Times Square that it's the worst thing with Saudi involvement since 9/11.
How did I not think of that joke?
That's a Matty joke. That is definitely a Matty joke. Yeah.
Fuck's sake. So yeah, like Eddie was on the fucking MMA show, wasn't he? Said MMA is in a recession, where boxing is in the fucking hit the Wall Street crash. Like, hasn't it? That is fucking abysmal. An abysmal weekends are showing. Fellas not trying. Fellas coming up out of shape. fellas getting life-changing money and delivering up, serving up that up to us. I don't know. We always had hopes that someday boxing would even itself out and it would shake free of the sanctioning bodies and return to the days of one world champion. And that's the noise they're making, isn't it? Like with Turkey Al Sheikh, he has the blank checkbook. He can make all these fights happen because he has the cash, and that's what it is. But what's the point in paying these fellas so much money if that's what they're going to turn up? I mean, the Saudi card, like, fuck me. McCauley, what did he lose? £13? £13 with a full camp since the Parker fight came in abominable condition. And a Jaguar should have won that one for me. I thought he didn't do much either, by the way.
Rob, I have parlay that would still be going right now where I had a Jagba to win, McKellian to win, and Inoue to go over 5.5.
There you
I
go.
feel very boned today. Yesterday.
Well, you're all right. Well, you won your
boned.
fucking rally bet, so no one would have seen that one coming. You won your rally bet.
My Raleigh bet paid for that
Yeah.
bet, to be fair.
Yeah. So look, fucking, I think a poor weekend's boxing. Like the Billy Scott, like fuck me. I'm done with the Cubans now. I was the number one Cubano advocate over the years. No, I'm done with him now after that. Billy Skull has let me down badly. Like the Cuban
Are you
school,
putting
Lara
up an
talked about.
embargo, Rob?
I might have to fucking start issuing sanctions. I don't know what's going on, but it's fucking. I always love the Cuban style of fighting, the amateur style, the beauty of being able to hit and not get hit. But Billy Skull had the not get hit part and not hit part to go with it. Like it was like he did just one part of it, don't get hit, but he didn't want to throw any punches either. And we saw a lot of that over the weekend. Like there was like a lot of fellas not trying to win the fights, but we'll deal with them all individually. But just like it's the Canelo just got paid for a glorified. Canelo probably got paid more money in that one fight than most of us will ever see in our entire life put together, and it was a glorified sparring session. Like, who the fuck wants to see that from the face of boxing?
Well,
You know what I mean? It's a fucking shot.
You and Des weren't here when I started the show, but we for the between with Canelo and Skull, Haney Ramirez, and Raleigh and Garcia, they averaged out per fighter for 239 punches a fight, 20 a round, and 57 landed punches per fight. It was a fucking joke. Canelo,
it was so bad.
152.
It was so bad. A cynical mind to start thinking that the fix is in here. Like in certain fights, you just don't let this. Do you know what I mean? Setting up bigger fights down the road. Like we're supposed to set up the Haney fucking Ryan Garcia rematch. Garcia doesn't hold his end up in the bargain. That fucking Haney and Garcia match is not worth spit now. Fucking obviously the Canelo had to come through Skull, so he wasn't going to fight Benavidez or whatever because that Crawford fight goes away if he gets beaten. So they give him a fucking non-threatening opponent to have him spar for 12. Fucking abysmal. Canelo look fucking slow. His feet look fucking like stuck like chewing gum now. He looks like he's fucking can't pull the trigger the way he used to. And the other guy was just fucking running out of the ring, running out of the ring. Imagine you bought a ticket for that.
But that's what it looked like. So every now and then, a trainer will bring a lighter fighter in that's got really quick feet, twitch muscle reactions, and they'll say to the bigger fella, "Now we want to get 10 rounds out of him a day. So don't go heavy on him. Just creep him around, move him into corners, cut him off." And that's what that fight looked like. It looked like Canelo was looking after a smaller sparring partner, just working on his feet, and that's exactly what we saw Saturday night.
Stuck in the mud. Like, I don't know. I find it very difficult to say anything positive about any of the fighters for the whole weekend, being honest with you, apart from maybe Teofimo Lopez gets a pass. And I think even at that, fellas are fucking giving him maybe too much credit for what it was. A horrible weekend, and what should have been two very strong cards. We should have got some kind of action out of it, some kind of reward. But it's getting harder to defend boxing. And I tell you what, for hardcores who absolutely peltered, rightfully so, gave pelters for Eubank and Bain, the fight being made and calling it a joke and that. Well, it delivered on a fucking cinematic level of drama compared to those fucking fights, 4 or 5 fights over the weekend with supposedly the best guys in the business. Fucking hell, man. Go on to Devin the Dream Haney. Put you to fucking sleep, man. Put you to sleep. Afraid of his fucking shadow. He's afraid to engage for the whole fight. Now, I don't want to be fucking disparaging the pro fighters. They're getting punched in the head for a living. They put themselves through training camps and all, but you can't fucking piss on me leg and tell me it's raining either. Like, I've watched enough fights to know when a fella's fucking scared in the ring. Like, Haney, scared to engage. Shell shocked from the fucking Ryan Garcia beating. The other fella off the peds can't fucking bust eggs with a hammer. Ryan Garcia, he's getting beaten out and outboxed by fucking Rolly Romero. And fuck me, man. Like, honest to God, like fucking what you call it, Ramirez, they're made for the taking. Like, give us fucking Devin Haney, give us one fucking performance, will you? For fuck's sake, like step on the gas once. Like, he lost to Lomachenko in his fucking highest profile win. He lost that fight 7-5, 8-4. Clearly, I don't think there's no fucking argument for him winning that Lomachenko fight. He got the ears boxed off him. He lost the fucking Garcia fight. He's on peds. So he gets that fucking wiped off the record. And now they're back out with his fucking 32-0. What 32-0 of what? Like, of what? 32-0 of fucking dog shit. Wouldn't fucking pay to watch any of these fellas. You have to pay me to watch them. Honestly. Fucking brutal. Anyway, sorry guys, go ahead.
No, that was actually a good segue into the Times Square card, Rob. I understand. I get it. It was a painful event to watch, but at least I had the fucking glory of watching one thing I said come true and watching Raleigh's heavy hand that Gervonta Davis bore down.
Good for Raleigh. Good for Raleigh, because Raleigh's been fucking mocked. He's been memed to death. He's been the punchline for a lot of the jokes on here over the year. But he was one of the only fighters on the card that came to fight. And he was cooking Ryan, and they were trying everything to give fucking Ryan Garcia. Those cards were fucking closer, suspiciously closer than it should have been as well. Garcia never tried after the second round. As soon as he got hit, he turned out.
Romero called it. He's like, Romero said, as soon as I stung him, he didn't want none of me anymore. He said, as soon as I hit him, he didn't want none. Yep. And he was right. Garcia didn't want none of that fight after he got knocked down. And Romero was like, he wants none of this. And he didn't. He didn't want none of it.
Isn't that the motherfucker when it comes to boxing too, is these guys are like so often like total bullshit artists and stuff that you never know when someone is legitimately telling you the truth. Like when Tank says like, Raleigh can hit, man. Yeah. He's got hands, and like you watch him get smacked around by old man Barroso, and then get wrecked by the midget Isak Cruz, and the odds were with everybody, and it was, what I thought.
Then you don't know who's on the fucking gas and who isn't on the gas. That's another thing when you see how the obvious drop off between Ryan Garcia. Maybe Raleigh got fucking stung by lads that were fucking.
Raleigh looked,
you know what I mean?
Do you see the size of his upper arms, dude? He was fucking massive.
Well, Garcia also,
bigger than I've ever seen. Yeah.
Well, Garcia was blaming what? He blamed the Batman car. He blamed all kinds of shit last night for him losing because he said that. I mean, I don't blame him. That was stupid as fuck that he had to get drove up in the Batman car. But he was like, all those delays. I think all that's bullshit. He's off the drugs.
That's a lot of waffle.
And
I saw him.
Romero just
footage of him. Saw footage of him crying in the ambulance or whatever after. It's too fucking late now. It's too late now, asshole. Yeah. Too late. Fucking fucked up the bag for not just for himself, but for the profile of the sport. He was supposed to be the fucking guy to lead the new generation. Good looking kid, extremely marketable, the most marketable guy in the sport. Could talk the talk, had the punch to go with it, and didn't fucking apply himself. Wasted his fucking career, pissed about, got popped on fucking steroids, wasted another fucking year. Now look at him, like Rolly Romero's fucking beating the shit out of him.
You know how much like popularity he would have got if he would have just done what he was supposed to in Times Square in New York City. If he did not Romero out, like he was supposed to, he would have been the star.
English speaking as well. English speaking again, Mexican background. He would have been the biggest thing on earth. He'd be like the Beatles. And he fucked it all up.
You could tell with the numbers that he did against Tank. That was I think the last time any boxing event has exceeded
the 5th highest pay-per-view of all time.
Yeah.
It's the 5th highest boxing pay-per-view of all time. And think about that. At that stage of his career, where was he in terms of boxing heads? He wasn't like he wasn't the guy for boxing heads. He was doing that off his draw. Exactly. Yeah. And the guy whose best win was Luke Campbell is in the top 5 of all time pay-per-view buys. Like, he fucked it up so badly, like so bad. If you're involved in his camp and that, and you're his promoter, you gotta be fucking tearing your hair out, like. Got to be waste.
You know, and it's amazing. Like, and I think it comes down to, at the end of the day, is like, if you look at, like, the guy who has been his promoter and to some degree probably his mentor, despite their oftentimes public feud, Oscar De La Hoya, had all sorts of troubles out of the ring. I mean, after you watch that documentary about him, like, even more comes to light. But the difference between then and now is Oscar De La Hoya was kept active. These guys, fuck off. What are you doing at the age of 23? Like, bands and all that aside, taking more
Oscar's
than
a
3 months away
pure
from the
fighter.
fucking ring.
Oscar's a pure fighter at heart as well. Pure
Yeah,
competitor at heart. I think,
Yeah.
I think there's a major difference between him and Garcia. I think Garcia
definitely.
hit that apex so early that he couldn't. The hunger went out of him. Like,
There was a
fucking
generation
completely.
of fighters who went into the ring nearly every single fight with an injury, and they still did whatever the fuck happened, and they just went about their business. And now there's a generation of fighters who refuse to walk into a ring really with an injury whatsoever.
The rarity with De La Hoya, why he's so rare, is like him and Hagler and all those guys, is like they had all the money and they still had the hunger. And you don't get many guys that still keep both, that still keep the drive. Nowadays, once you get paid, these guys don't keep that. And De La Hoya he never lost. Yeah, he did a lot of partying and he had a lot of money, but he still kept the drive of wanting to be the best and kept fighting the best. And Garcia is not even close to that. I mean, my God, he did not do a damn thing last night. He didn't even throw punches hardly. The corner were like begging him. Like, they were like telling him, you have to throw. You have to do something. I've never seen a corner just sit there and were begging a fighter to actually fight. And Garcia had no desire. He was like him and Skull. He had no desire to engage with Romero. He was not going to get into a fight with him for nothing. And that's why he lost. Because it's not like Romero did anything special. Romero just does what he does, but Garcia did not want to fight him. And it was pitiful. The whole damn show was pitiful. I mean, first of all, showing up the stupid ass fucking cars they drove him up in. Not even the new Batman car. It's like the Michael Keaton 1988 Batman car.
Justin, if Rolly would have gotten screwed on the cards, this episode would have been called Batman and Robin.
Yeah, this was like, it was the whole production was, you had like Tupac with fake bullet wounds in the ring. You had Daredevil.
I missed that. What the fuck?
Y'all didn't see that? There was the ring card guy he was dressed as Tupac getting out of the hospital with bullet holes.
Whose idea was that? Whose fucking idea was that? Like,
yeah, it was. You had Daredevil in the crowd. You had it was god awful production. It was like, it was something from like the 90s, but like not even up. Like, some of the stuff wasn't even like up to date stuff. Like, it was Batman, the 1989 version. Then you had Tupac, so they were going. It was so stupid.
Then they had KSI and that ISL speed fucker playing video games.
Yeah, it was the worst freaking possible thing I've ever seen in my life. And they probably spent, I would say, $5 or $10 million. You know how much it costs to block a New York City street for like 5 hours or a whole day?
I don't think
they probably
spent $10 million for less than 7 figures. Yeah.
You looked like a fucking fight in a library as well. It looked like it had no atmosphere in it. Like, it was the worst atmosphere. It was nearly better than the atmosphere was better in sound.
Well, they say it's gonna be, they're like, it's going to be in Times Square and free to the public to watch on screens outside of this area. I think we have blocked off.
I think Joe Kennedy was there, and it's free to the public, but you're like a mile and a half down the road. Like, you were not actually like you said, you couldn't really see anything. It was, and then there was like random, I don't know if y'all caught this, but there was like random, they were trying to go with Romero. I know what they were doing. They were trying to go, because he showed up in the lowrider, so they were going for like the Cholo look. So they had like random pit bulls running along the car in the middle of the street, and then one of the pit bulls
seems like a good idea. Yes,
and one of the pit bulls got lost, so the woman was running with her little microphone trying to catch the dog, and he was running towards the street. And I was like, it turned into the dog was sitting there smiling, like running.
You two might be able to enlighten me on this. By the way, this is a kind of a fucking digression here for me. Well, what you call it? Why do Americans always have the pit bulls with the with the cropped ears or whatever, and then they get like newborn babies and start like fucking putting them, like giving me anxiety online, like, oh, look at the baby, and the fucking pit
They're
bulls, they're
idiots.
fucking staring at the baby's fucking. I'm like, this, he's
Pit
gonna kill
bulls-
that baby. Stop fucking doing that. Like,
It's a
Pit bulls
stereotype
were
around here.
were bred to protect children. They're nursery dogs.
yes, dude, I know, because I tell you what, my dad was one of like the most fucking experienced dog handlers in Ireland. We had a pit bull in '83 before they were even fucking popular, but he didn't say go put your face to that killer dog. That, you know what I mean? That was number one fucking instruction. Don't put your face near that dog. He might kill you. He's going to be grand, but he might kill you.
Everybody I know
was a
around here,
badass. What the hell?
everybody who owns a pit bull around here, it might be used to be different. They are the people I don't want to hang out with because they think the pit bull makes them like tough. It's like a status thing, and then the pit bull gets out and freaking kills like 4 dogs across the street, and then. But like I said, I don't mind pit bulls. It's the owners that really fuck them up. But
tell you what, if there's anything I could say about pit bulls, I think that pit bulls are one of the most reactive breeds to the nature of their owners.
Yeah,
so like if they have really like, so like
if you have a Jack Russell and you poke it in the eye, it could snap at you, like, you know what I mean. But don't maybe take the risk when you have a brand new baby that the fucking baby's not going to tug at the fucking pit bull's ears or something. You know what I mean? I don't know. Anyway, they give me anxiety with that shit. Anyway, sorry.
It's a great detour. Anyway, this is very enjoyable. Well, then just to show you how fucked up this card was. It was one of the goofiest things I've ever seen in my damn life. And I'll tell you,
it was past stupid. It was like Turkey and them were basically. It was like a kid's party. I think Steve said it last night. I enjoyed the Triller cards better. I enjoyed the COVID top rank atmosphere better. It was so forced, and it's like Saudi Arabia seems like it's like somebody that's a culture that's like 20 years behind the rest of the world. So they still thought we were into like the stuff from 25 years ago.
There's a
and they were going to keep bringing that out.
George Pepper doing the ring walks and all that.
Yeah, it's like they just thought this was going to be cool, and people were like, "Who the fuck cares about?" Nobody cares about the
coming to the ring in the fucking in a Knight Rider card. Oh, right, you've got a fight tonight. I think the intentions were good from the production, but it just missed, didn't it? Like they're trying to bring a bit of glamour and glitz, a bit of WWE style kind of production value to boxing. Like they're trying to package it up into something, and it's just the intention was probably good, but it missed. And that fight in Times Square, it just missed, didn't it? Like there was no atmosphere. It was. But back to the fucking fights, I suppose you have to focus on Haney and Garcia the most, and say the two of them didn't try to win the fucking fights. Like Haney just cruised and went to the outside. He didn't want to engage.
Didn't Haney set a record last night?
It was one of the lowest. Well, until Canelo broke it.
No. Haney and Ramirez set the record for least amount of punches in a 12-round fight, and that they set the record for most rounds where a fighter didn't land a punch in a 12-round fight.
Fucking hell! And got paid fucking 10 times the odds for doing it as well. By the way, got paid more than fucking. Oh, stop, man! Fucking so poor, like such a poor. And like the worst thing about it is take a look around, like the landscape. Who's coming through that's going to fuck everything up?
This show's really loose today, and I think it's because like it's such a shit show all in all. But I think we all kind of feel like, even though Larry Merchant once said that there's nothing that can kill, there's nothing that can kill boxing, and there's nothing that will save it either, or something along those lines. But I disagree. I feel like last night, us, the true boxing fans, feel like we just witnessed a nail in the coffin of our sport.
Could you imagine watching that fight and like inviting people? And I've done this. I know everybody on here has done this, where you invite people over and you're like to watch what you love, and it ends up being god awful. And then they look at you like, "What the hell you watch this for? This shit sucks."
Yeah.
Can you imagine how many people bought that? Oh, Times Square, and had people over, and they were all like, "I'm never watching boxing again," because this is what they think it is. It's freaking Haney throwing one punch in 12 rounds. And then the only thing I enjoyed about last night was it was good to have Jim Lampley back, even though he is.
That was great. Yeah, he missed a few times, but he's still insightful. I like having him times.
Just his voice in this, because nostalgia. It brought you back to like, this is why I love about boxing, because the HBO days. And then, Tarver and them were the Dam as his co-commentators. But I really enjoyed having Lampley back, I hope they bring him back more because he's just the man. That is boxing for me. Jim Lampley is.
He loves the
just
sport legitimately. I
Yeah,
think
he
people
is
miss
the guy that him and you remember the guy named Charles that he died of cancer. He used to be the Showtime main announcer.
Oh, God, what was his name? Yeah,
I
do.
he died of cancer. I loved him too. And those are the two guys that I relate boxing with. And so it was cool to have Lampley back. But I think we get back on the boxing. I think Rob said that Teo, I really liked his performance for a while. He was throwing some incredible. If you enjoy boxing purist stuff, he had some awesome counters, like his uppercut counter to the body, and he was doing the feints. And then he kind of let off the gas a little bit the final 4 or 5 rounds. But you would have to say, I think Rob's right. He's the only one that can hold his head up and say, I did what I was supposed to do. I beat an undefeated guy who some people thought might beat me, and he outclassed him. But people give him and his dad hell, but man, I mean, he looked good. His countering, like I said, was on spot. He was just landing some beautiful shots.
Yeah, it was interesting. There was a point I wanted to make earlier, and we just been bouncing around fights, and I wanted to actually toss this off to you specifically. I think boxing in the wonderful irony that it is, it's so interesting that last year, just around this time, a couple weeks earlier last year, we were all laughing at the prospect of Ryan Garcia having a chance at beating Devin Haney, and everything else aside with the nonsense with it. And then we come into this fight, and everybody's laughing at the prospect of Rolly Romero beating Ryan Garcia, and it happened. It's just so interesting how fighters can be on both ends of that spectrum in such a short period of time.
Yeah, I think the answer to that question is, I think Ryan Garcia's had too much, and we've put the word mediocrity in context, because he's not mediocre, but he in a boxing sense, in the pool he swims in, Ryan Garcia's achieved mediocrity, and he's been rewarded heavily for that achievement. Ryan Garcia, we talk about Ryan Garcia like the new Oscar De La Hoya, like the Beatles of boxing. He's never even come close to being anything like Oscar, not even close. But we're paying him Oscar money, and we're giving him Oscar status. And if you go back in the last 30 years, we've seen a lot of our institutions being completely reformed. The way we teach our kids in schools, the way we look after people in hospitals, the way the police service will work at the moment. There's been a lot of reform, and it's not always for the better. And what we're seeing in boxing is very similar to, say, Premier League football over here. We've put everyone in new stadiums and new pitches, and we're giving everyone more money, but I don't think the product's better. And boxing falls under that umbrella now. I'm seeing boxers like Garcia and Heaney, Teo, Ramirez, Barbosa, Bacoli, Canelo, Fury. They're at the top of the mountain. They've been paid huge amounts of money, but we're not getting the best performances from them. We're not even getting evenly matched fights like when Oscar or when Tito or when Mosley or when Cotto were boxing. So, Lennox Lewis and Carl Froch, they went from one super fight to another super fight, one killer to another. We're not getting that now. And when you look at, say, Ryan Garcia, this is a kid that stood Luke Campbell on his head. I know he got dropped in the second, but it woke him up and it showed you how good he was. Ryan Garcia can fight. But for whatever reason, he's kind of peaked and dipped, and the drugs thing hasn't helped him, and the layoff hasn't helped him. The inactivity, fighters coming back off a drugs ban, so now we've got to assume that they're being stringently watched, so they're very clean, and now they're not the same fighter. I think boxing has put itself into a bit of a hole now, and the people that are investing in boxing, that have come in with all the money, I think they've got great ideas, but they're missing the principle of boxing. They're taking away the emotivity of boxing. And boxing was about crowds. It was about culture. It was about passion. It was about two fighters fighting to achieve something more than just money. People wanted world titles. And look, I know that's quite romantic, but you've only got to speak to world champions and British champions of the last 30 years and say, could you put a price on that British title? Could you put a price on your night when you won the WBC title? Could you put a price on that night in Atlantic City? And say, no, there's no money that could compensate me for that feeling, for that journey, for what I achieved. And we don't seem to have that flavour in boxing at the moment. And we've had a few big stars. Like Canelo comes with 100 million people. And we've now somehow separated those two. We've now got Canelo boxing in front of 200 people in a glorified sparring session. So the people that have come into boxing have come into it with great intentions. They want to revamp it. And it's almost like another example of what we saw in British boxing, where we're going to take it out of the small halls and we're going to take it away from the leisure centres. Like that was a bad thing. They weren't a bad thing. That's where boxing starts. We should watch that journey. We should embrace it. Of course, we have the arenas and the stadiums, but let's not count out the fundamentals, the foundations of this sport. And I think that's what we're doing now. So a Canelo versus William Skull is never going to be a good fight. But, when you take him away from a Las Vegas, when you take him away from a Cowboys stadium, when you take him away from his people and out of his culture, that's what you're left with. And Canelo's been paid really, really well for the other night. Huge amounts of money. So he's probably thinking, I don't agree with the move, but who am I to, argue? And you could say the same about Eddie Earn and Frank Warren and all the guys that have come along with this move. They probably think this isn't really the best for boxing, but we're all being paid well for it. And where we see boxing now, I think it's a direct result of people coming in with new ideas, with great intentions, but they've kind of missed the point.
Yeah, you can't take the biggest star in Mexican boxing off of this continent for Cinco de Mayo.
And Matty, what I would say, I think we're now all realising how important America is to boxing, and more importantly, Las Vegas. We've all grown up in the last 30, 40, 50 years. That's the home of boxing. That's the mountaintop. And we've now separated that. And I don't think it benefits boxing.
Yeah, I mean, and all sorts of factors contributing. I don't know how much longer that's going to last as well. It's tough. I get a feeling that after Canelo, it's going to be really hard to carry on the sport of boxing here with big events and things like that. Like we have our fights and stuff like that, but the events are so reliant on the Hispanic crowd. And if there's no real passing of the torch on that one, it's going to be very tough to keep that audience going. Like the only guy with a chance was Benavidez, I think. And he
but that should have been a fight that was made.
Yep.
That should have been a fight that was made.
Been.
Canelo should have been obligated to say, you know what? I was passed the torch and I'm now going to pass it on to Benavidez, or I'm going to beat him. And that should have been a huge fight in Vegas. And that should have stopped traffic.
And that's why they will never rate him ultimately as in the same league as Morales, Barrera, and Chavez.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, and to a lesser degree, Marquez. I mean, he always did big bank with Pacquiao, but he was overshadowed by obviously Morales and Barrera. But let's see here. That Haney Ramirez fight was absolute garbage. I've never seen a fighter so reluctant to throw until later that night. Maybe it was just incredible to watch what happened. And Ramirez just doesn't have a good enough first step anymore. He doesn't have the hand speed to deal with what Haney was doing. But Haney got the W. But it's one of those things. Like I wonder, Justin. He got the W. But at what cost? In at least getting it in this manner.
I don't think he cares. Him and his dad were in the front row laughing it up during the Garcia. I don't think Haney cares what he looks like. I really don't. I don't think he cares what people think about how he looked. I think he won, and that's all that matters to him. I don't think he cares about if he threw 5 punches the whole fight. As long as he won, I don't think he's the guy. I think he's so in his own world That for him, I would not. If somebody asked him, he's gonna come out and say that he put a master class on. That he just completely. That's why Ramirez didn't land any punches because he put such a defensive master class on. I mean, that's the way they'll play it off. He doesn't care. And as far as, I guess you got to set up. They'll give him the Romero fight. I mean, where would you go with Haney? Nobody's gonna. Nobody cares about Haney. That's the problem I think for Haney too. Is we don't give a shit to watch him fight. And especially after that, there's no way any casuals are going to give a damn about watching him fight. So the only person you can feed him to that anybody would even tune in for, because Romero would probably talk enough trash to make the fight interesting, and he beat the guy that beat the crap out of him. I mean, so like Rob said, the rematch is done. You cannot sell that rematch to anybody now. So you got to go Haney Romero. I mean, there's no real options left to go if you don't go with them. And
well, they might go. There's always Tio, but the problem is
Tio said that he's not staying at the weight. He said he's going to go up. And
Romero was at 147 there.
Abner Mares come out and said that Tio's camp and that it's work. They said they're working on it, but he's going to fight Boots next. That's what Teo's working on.
That's what they're talking about.
So Teo's going to go fight Boots because the announcer said it like 2 or 3 times that it actually is it's getting worked on. They're going over details. So he'll fight next. Teo will go fight Boots, and I think Boots will beat him. Boots will definitely beat him. I think it'll be a decent fight, but he's not going to beat Boots at a higher level weight. And so Haney has to fight Romero. And I honestly, if Romero comes out with the same attitude, I think he beats Haney. I mean, because Haney has to throw punches versus Romero. Romero is not going to be like Ramirez, because I think Ramirez just kind of went along with Haney last Saturday night. He just kind of Friday night. I mean, he was just like, well, this is what the fight is. Romero's not going to be like that. I think he'll try a little bit harder than Ramirez did. But I mean, I think you got to give Raleigh a really good chance to beat Haney in that fight. Is it going to be a great fight? No, I don't think Haney's ever going to be in a great fight. He doesn't want to be. He doesn't want to be in a great fight. Like Skull, like last night, they don't want to be in good fights. For them, a really competitive, hard fight is not what they want to happen. So
do you know what? We talk about it all the time, don't we? We had it last week as the centerpiece of the theme that was running throughout the Eubank Bend promotion, and that the fathers and the fathers are involved with the sons, and we had it over in that card over the weekend where you have Teofimo Lopez's dad as a fucking headbanger, and you have Bill Haney, who's one of the most fucking unlikable grifters in professional sport, but he is a former pimp, so his profession was brainwashing people. So he's good at it, like, you know what I mean? And he probably has the young fella fucking brainwashed into thinking that he's the fucking next coming of Floyd Mayweather. But as Mayweather said about it, like, your son is undefeated in sparring. Cool. I'm undefeated under the lights. And they've built their whole reputation off of becoming the next Mayweather, didn't they? Like, until Mayweather turned on him and leaked the sparring footage and that, like with the fucking Davis stuff and all that. But it's all a bit unsavory with Bill Haney, isn't it? Like, you can tell he's grifting to the last fucking degree. And he's trying to convince the world that his son, it's the Devin Haney. Remember, it was the Devin Haney era. Remember that? That was short-lived, wasn't it? Like, the Devin Haney era, it's going to be fucking Devin and he has him believing it, and and he doesn't give a fuck as long as that paycheck is coming in. But the son, there's a reason that all the big promoters didn't touch Devin Haney when he was on the come up, right? There's a reason that he was around the Floyd Mayweather gym. He was around fucking Las Vegas. He was sparring all these guys. Nobody picked him up. Tom Frank didn't go for him. Golden Boy didn't go for him. He was self-promoted. The dad was managing him. Who became his promoter? Eddie Hearn. Why? Because Eddie needed currency and bandwidth in that division for his DAZN deal. Right? And then he started to get a couple of opportunities. That's why they brought in fucking Boxer Size Ben and all that. Like, remember, he was giving Devin Haney dossiers and all. The whole thing is a fucking grift. The kid's not that good. Unfortunately for him, he's not that good. He's probably an all right young fella. Like, he's had a lot of fucking fame and a lot of money at a very early stage of his life. But he's not that good. He wasn't that good back then. If he was that good back then, Golden Boy and fucking Top Rank would have been breaking the fucking bank to sign him. He doesn't put asses in seats. His style is not exciting. And now he's got to the stage where he's fucking gun shy as well. You can forget about it, man.
You can forget about it. This guy is never going. Like between him and Ryan Garcia, and at least Haney has beaten. Well, he has wins over world champions. I don't know if he's beaten them. Like he had fucking whatever the Cambosis win, 2 wins versus Cambosis, wasn't it? And then
Yeah.
a very unconvincing win against Lomachenko on his resume, and a loss to Ryan Garcia that's been scrubbed off the record books, and a fight against Ramirez. Ramirez is done 4 years ago. Ramirez is done after the Josh Taylor fight. He hasn't looked like anything since, and he still can't fucking go and stop someone. Go and fucking tell a guy to go out and, and stop somebody, beat somebody definitively, and then they can start maybe giving these guys titles that they deserve.
Man's talking facts. You don't hear this in any other pod. Everything which Rob said there is bang on. You don't hear this anywhere else.
Well, listen, we've always had a different fucking outlook because we're not like trying to be friends with Bill Haney or whatever. I don't need to fucking pull my punches on Bill Haney because he's not going to be coming on this pod, or I don't need access to the fights or whatever. So it's different for us or whatever. So we can probably call it a little bit more down the line than a lot of the guys who are in the media and they need access and stuff. But Bill Haney is painful listening to him. Painful. He's a salesman. He's a grifter. The son is okay. He's okay. He fucking wouldn't beat any of the fucking great fighters of the past. He wouldn't even beat any of the great fighters of the modern era. He hasn't beaten too many world champions. Ryan Garcia hasn't beaten a world champion as far as I know. Not really. Has it? David Haney? Does David Haney count? Because that one was fucking scrubbed off his record.
No
so
decision now. Yeah.
Yeah. So like fucking these guys are not. They're not what they like. Ryan Garcia's in that position because he's marketable and he had the potential to be a very good fighter and make tons of money and bring eyes onto the sport. Devin Haney's making up the numbers. Like he's not a front runner. Teofimo Lopez is probably the biggest enigma there. He's probably the guy with the most talent in around that. In around those names, he's most athletic ability. He has the most power. There's just a bit missing with him too. Like, isn't there? There's something fucking quite.
He's a question wrapped inside an enigma, wrapped inside a.
But I don't mind. But I don't mind that a bit of genius. There's always a bit of madness with a genius. Like there's always a bit of fucking.
The line
I
is
don't
nearly
mind that.
indiscernible. I 100% agree and say
Yeah,
it all.
that's actually a little bit more engaging for the public. Like you don't know what fucking version of Tio's going to turn up, but get these fucking guys in with each other and get it over with for fuck's sake. Like this waiting around for the look at them all: Shakur, Javante, Devin, Teofimo. How many of them fought each other? Just Devin and Ryan and tanked. Ryan's really the only one to fucking make the fights happen. Like, and he's only doing it because he was cashing out. He knew his fucking shelf life was short by the way he was living his life outside of the ring. He made the Tank fight. He drained down. He doesn't give a fuck about winning the title either. But because he knew the numbers, when the numbers were on the table, he ended up being the 5th highest pay-per-view in fucking boxing history. Think about that, by the way. Think about that. Look at the fighters that are above in terms of buys. Yeah, it's just a quit, and he quit again. He quit again the other night. He quit when Raleigh hit him too.
Yep, in a different way, but yep, he did quit again.
Boxing's in a bad place, guys. Honestly, it's in a bad spot.
Matty, what Rob said there, right? We should examine that a little bit. He said he doesn't beat any of the greats of today or the past. You think about lightweight, one of the original 7 divisions. We're not talking about Duran or Laguna or Arguello or Pryor. We're not talking about monsters of the last 100 years. He don't get past Casamayor. He don't get past the Brazilian puncher. He don't get past Cesar Chavez. He don't get past Whitaker. He doesn't get past Mosley at lightweight.
He don't get past Tank Davis.
Where do we put this Devin Hunt? Why are we're being gaslighted? And again, what I said to you earlier, we are rewarding mediocrity. A kid that's never done anything to think, do you know what? And Rob, his best win, he never won it. They jobbed Loma on the cards.
They jobbed Loma, and that one was fucking papered over the cracks fucking very, very fucking quickly, wasn't it? Like we weren't allowed to. It seemed like we weren't allowed to talk about that one. Like
we weren't allowed to talk about it. And you've got to sometimes think, you know, look, I love Floyd and what he did for himself and boxing and what he represented as in boxing. But Floyd made this, you know, undefeated record such a big thing, and the personality he had worked for him, but it ain't working for other people. And you look at a lot of top American fighters,
100%.
Whether it's Bud, who has been scandalously underused, who's a really cool guy. You've only got to watch the Shannon Sharp interview, and anything Bud does, This is a star that we've
Yeah, they didn't know
criminally
what to do with him.
overlooked. Criminally overlooked him. But Boots ain't got nothing about him. You know,
Yep.
Tank's got nothing about him. Devon and his old man are just horrible. They just look like, you know, ghastly people, and you don't want to listen to them. So, you know, Floyd's had a bit of an impact
Devin
on this
Haney
generation
on
as well.
his he lives out in Vegas, doesn't he, Haney? And they had him in his apartment building, throwing up, getting large amounts of cash and making these Instagram reels of him throwing the money up in the air. Like he hadn't fucking beaten anyone. I don't give a shit. If Floyd set fire to fucking $100 bills, I don't give a shit because he had 21 world champions on his fucking resume. I don't care. And he was always, whether you liked them, whether you thought his fights were boring, they were entertaining from a boxing purist point of view because it was hard to hit the fucker. People couldn't hit him, and you're watching to see will someone catch him, will someone be able to fucking bring something out of him. But he was too fucking good. He was a step ahead. He was a brilliant matchmaker. He was a fucking brilliant talker. But these guys are going out of the sport sad with no personality, no draw, no fucking balls either in the fights, no blood and guts. Like, at least for every Floyd that you had that was fucking, you had a Manny Pacquiao who was all action. You had a fucking Ricky Hatton who was all action. You had Ward and fucking Corrales and Gaddy and all these guys who were blood and guts. Where's all that gone out of? We don't even have any Latino bad guys anymore. Remember, we used to have fucking about 150 fucking Mexican Goonies that would just fucking make the fight because they'd be such fucking
Mexican.
You know, your
Goonies.
Fernando Vargas.
He's right.
Yeah,
He's
Fernando
bang right.
Vargas
He's bang
is
right.
your fucking.
Well, think about
Muscle man
Mayweather
from Nicaragua, fucking Ricardo
He's right,
Mayorga.
yeah.
These
Ricardo
guys are
Mayorga,
dying
yeah.
off like.
Well, people don't realize. I know I've said this 100 times. Mayweather was Pretty Boy first, and he was that guy. He earned his right to kind of be more defensive later in his career. These guys are being defensive from fight one, thinking that's
and Justice
Mayweather
Floyd was
That's not how that
5
works.
weights from his natural. Floyd was 5 weights from his starting weight with broken,
Yeah.
brittle hands. So he had to be defensive as well.
That's
we're
another
not
thing that never
knocking
gets talked about. Yeah, that never gets
We're
talked
never,
about.
we're
Yeah,
never
bad
knocking
hands.
Floyd on this pod, but
Yeah.
he's had an effect on the new generation coming up, and
A
they're
bad
trying to beat
effect.
Floyd from the start.
And-
Correct,
Yeah.
Justin? Yeah.
If he was going to juice, at least he never got caught. He got a fucking therapeutic use exemption, and fucking did what he wanted. He never got fucking. He never got popped and got a fucking year ban, did he? Like these fucking idiots.
I'll say
like,
this:
honest to God.
these guys should go back and watch when Floyd was coming out as Pretty Boy. He fought Jesse Chavez in his homecoming fight, and he beat the shit out of Jesse Chavez, and that was a top 5 champion. These guys, they're not doing any of that. I mean, they're having homecoming fights and going 12 rounds and trying to throw 8 punches. Floyd just got it. He knew, when I get the spotlight, I'm going to show out.
Yeah,
When
Floyd
he was
could fight.
younger, and he was
Floyd
going to
could
earn the money down the road. He said that. He's like, he told him, he's come out in an interview, said, I knew I had to be a star and put people in the seats. Then I could, down the road when the money come. These assholes are trying to do it now when nobody cares anyway. So it's like, but the bad thing about it is, Rob just said it, they're getting rewarded for being half-ass. Like Haney probably made $5 million last night for doing nothing.
Do you remember how critical people were of Al Heyman and the PBC? Because Heyman was like, I'm going to fucking sign a bunch of guys, I'm going to keep them on the network, and I'm going to have the UFC on the PBC. Now, the theory was right, but what he was doing, he was overpaying guys. And what you saw then was burnout and drop off from all the guys that were in that stable, right? Fucking the Charlos here today, flash in the pan fighters like who got overcompensated for their talent and pissed away their careers because not living the life outside the ring pays you back in cash, right? So these guys are fucking crashed and burned and are nowhere to be seen. What's going to happen now that they're getting paid even more? You know what I mean? With less obstacles and less kind of things in a way. I honestly, I know fucking said it earlier. Eddie said about MMA is in a recession. Boxing is in the fucking 1929 or whatever fucking year it was, Wall Street crash where motherfuckers were jumping off the fucking buildings because money wasn't worth shit due to the inflation. This is poor, like this is poor. I know it always turns, but there's normally someone you see on the way up. When Floyd and Manny were on the way out, we could see Canelo was on the way up. He was the guy, wasn't he? Like he was going to come and fucking have pass over the torch. When the likes of James Comey and Hopkins, Ward and Crotch were coming up. Yeah,
have a look at Cotto's resume. Look at the killers he fought. kids that never got near world titles because he topped them before they got there. Look at the fighters he fought on the way up. We just don't have them no
but
more.
even look at them all fighting each other. Mosley, Cotto, fucking De La Hoya. But they're
Trinidad.
all in around the mess.
Kelson
Sergio
Pinto,
Martinez,
people
Paul
like that.
Williams.
Yeah.
Like, look at now. Like, fucking, that's only like 15 years ago. It's changed so much even in the last 7 years since we were on it. We had Aaron Spence crash and burn, both Charlos crash and burn, fucking Ryan Garcia crash and burn, Haney crash and burn, Lopez fucking's not where he should have been. It's just I don't know, man. It's Teo's one of the better fighters in the sport. Shakur, fucking nobody wants to see him. Nobody wants to fucking see that guy fighting. Like he's fighting electricians, making him look good. Stop, like the fucking sports in the shit is sport is as shit as it's been in a long, long time.
Well,
Like.
so many of these guys, it's just that, like, I don't want to necessarily say that they're pussies because you got to have, balls to get in the ring. But compared to the other generations and stuff like that, like, like these guys, like, yeah, they like, you had a bunch of freaking addicts and freaks among them and stuff like that. But you know what? These are the kind of guys who would get loaded, come into the gym, hungover as fuck. They would puke in a trash can and they would get in the goddamn ring and spar.
No, Rob just said it. Rob just summed it up. Those guys, though, weren't getting paid shit. They had to bring it every fight because they know if they didn't, there were so many good fighters out there, they would get skipped over because there's other guys out there that people want to see.
It has
Now
to
you
mean
don't have to do that.
winning has to mean something to you.
Yeah.
Bradley was talking about it, like, and with Bradley emphasized that because Timothy Bradley always fucking trying to win the fight, right? No matter, like, look at the Provodnikov Bradley fight, one of the underrated fucking modern era classics. That's only a couple of years ago. You'd fucking if we saw a fight like that now, we'd be up out of our fucking seats ranting and raving about it. Like, it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen, and it's going to happen less and less. I don't know, like, these fellas.
Years ago.
You get me. It's not fucking too long ago, like, but it's fucking it's in this fucking touching distance of, like, the lifestyle of this or the lifespan of this pod and that, like. But those fights are not fucking happening these days, like, and to have so many high caliber fighters or big name fighters, 6 big fights, say, over the weekend, and not one of them fucking deliver is a damning indictment of where we are, I think.
Now you understand. I hope that this, like, explains why I am so in love with Japanese boxing.
Thank God you said boxing.
No, it's the and people and none of you guys watch. Maybe Justin might watch it enough to appreciate it, but they make the fights. These resumes that these guys build, these small weight classes are just, littered with freaking with killers that live in different parts of Asia and around the Pacific Rim. And these little dudes, I mean, they get it on, and they make the fights, they make the unifications, and these dudes go to war. I mean, some of the most enthralling fights that I've seen in the last 10 years have happened in Japanese boxing rings. This year's, Taraji Inakui is the clubhouse leader for fight of the year for anyone who knows their salt. And if you can't enjoy that fight, you're out of your mind. But the Japanese, I mean, that's where it's at this point in time. We there's a whole lot of stuff to complain about, and the fights are shit. But we have, and it's not quite a segue because I don't know if we're there yet. But I mean, we're coming up on Inoue fighting here in a handful of hours, and it's just. Yeah, they do the fights. Nakatani is going to be in a unification at 118 pounds in just a couple of months. They'll probably make the fight with Inoue early next year. They don't mess around, and it's everything you want. And you really, because it's such an honor-driven society, in many ways, it's the same way with the purses. Like, they have to earn them and build up. But the Japanese fan base is loyal, and they build buzz, and they create stars like Inoue at home, who also, eventually cross into the global cultural zeitgeist or sports zeitgeist, as you would say, possibly. But yeah, Japanese boxing is where it's at when it's compared to this. I mean, it was amazing. There were so many decent fights on paper in the last couple of days, and the only ones that were turned out vaguely interesting to me at the end of the day was McKellian and Jack. and Ajagba and Bacoli. Teofimo Lopez held up his end of the bargain. He's a blue chipper for a reason. I wouldn't count him out against Boots because the best we ever see out of Teofimo Lopez is when he is coming in the underdog role. He does very well. And I think what helped Teofimo a lot in this was not the fact that he was not in the main event and he was in a supporting role. I think that having the show be entirely on his back in the way that he sees it puts a lot of pressure on him, and going to the supporting role, that takes a lot of that pressure off of him, takes that weight off of his shoulders, and you see a better Teofimo Lopez because of that. And, we'll see. Last time he came in as an underdog was against Taylor, and he won that fight. Anyone have any thoughts on this weekend's action before we move on to what is coming up ahead? All right. Man, that didn't even give me a chance to pull up the schedule. Let's see here. Go over to the good old ESPN since these cards are going to be on ESPN. All right. And we'll not start with the one that's coming up here shortly. We'll close with that, and we'll almost buttress right up to the start time, which is going to be an hour and 15 minutes from now on the ESPN Plus portion, where you can get in on some of the undercard action. Let's see what they. We'll check that out. But coming San Diego, this coming Saturday, it's going to be headlined by Navarrete and Charlie Suarez. Let's work our way up the undercard before we get to the supporting main event. They got Alan Garcia back out there after his shocking knockout loss to a guy with one knockout. Hopefully he can get it back together. I was hoping for him, and he's going to need a lot of help. That was not a good run for him. Also going to have Sebastian Hernandez against Azat Hovhannisyan. I don't know much about Hernandez, but Hovhannisyan's a decent little test at lower weights. Albert Gonzalez in a 10-rounder against Jose Guardado. Let's see how I need to mention that women's fight. I don't think, it probably doesn't matter. Giovanni Santillon back out, and he's going in against Angel Beltran. Andre Cortez against Salvador Jimenez. That could be a decent fight. Sammy, that's a 4-rounder, so we don't care. And any thoughts on that? The lesser portion of the undercard. I don't want to say lesser portion of that undercard just because there's some decent fighters on it, but obviously for this top ranked card, we're looking at the meat and potatoes. You there, Justin? I thought I directed to. Maybe I didn't. Or I can't hear you.
I can't hear him either. The dog.
Yep, can't hear you. I don't know what's going on there, Justin. You might want to log out, log in, or
you got me now.
There you are.
Yeah. Oh, this stupid shit. I was pulling your move, talking for like 30 seconds, but looking at the card, Cortez, he's the guy that beat Nova, right?
Yeah,
I think he's on there. Yeah, so he's not bad. Then you got Santillon is decent. Navarrete, I guess we're at the point now is what does he have left? I don't think he should have any problems with Suarez. And then the Murataya Abdullayev should be a good fight, but it's a solid ESPN card. These are the cards that you don't mind watching. These are a good non-pay-per-view, just ESPN cards with decent fights on it. So I'll definitely watch this. This card I think actually is better than the shit they put on in Saudi from top to bottom. If you want to think about competitive fights, I think this is going to be better, which is not hard to that bar is low as hell, but I think this is definitely better. And and Navarrete, he's never in a bad fight. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah. I think it will be it'll be a good one too. It's a decent undercard when you break it down, but obviously, we're looking forward more so towards the main two fights on there, and Des, one of the fights on there is Raymond Murtaya is going in against Zohar Abdullayev for the vacant IBF lightweight interim belt. A lot of extra words in there that ultimately add up to fake belt. But it's interesting. Abdullayev, The only time that American audiences have really had a chance to see him was losing in 4 rounds to Devin Haney, just getting chewed up by the jab. Didn't really win a minute of that fight, and quitting on a stool, if I recollect on that one. Well, what are your thoughts on this one? It'll be interesting to see Murataya get into the title picture on that one, obviously, because Top Rank has so much lightweight talent in-house. They can just, move pieces around and make some pretty good fights.
Yeah, I think Murataya wins it. I've seen quite a bit of Murataya, and I think they're grooming him into to get a version of a world title. And I think that will, because there's a lot of fights at lightweight that can't be made. For whatever reason, it's getting really hard to get the big names of that division in the ring together. And we've got some fantastic young fighters, a la Schofield, Cruz, Mason, and my favourite Keyshawn. And they're coming up now, and they're sort of 10 to 15 fights in, and they want to fight for a world title now. They're ready to go because they're cut from that Miguel Cotto, Oscar De La Hoya, Floyd Mayweather mold, where you win world titles in your first 2.5 years after 13, 14, 15 bouts. So I think Murataya wins that one. I think he's the better boxer of the two, and I think he's got a bit more poke. And I think that will open the door for people like Keyshawn, Cruz, Mason as well, and Schofield to fight for a version of a world title. I think Murataya wins. I don't think he stops him, but I think he'll have too much about him. He'll have a good jab. He'll have a respectable amount of dig. And I think that will put Abdullayev in a place where he's not very proactive. He's more reactive in the fight. I expect Murataya to win and become a world champion, and that will open a door for a lot bigger fights down at lightweight. You have to excuse me. I've been distracted because I'm being given a glass of red wine by a glamorous brunette. Do you want to come and say hello to the Nutters? No, so she's placated. No, sorry, Matt. Go on, mate.
Don't let her fucking say hello to the Nutters of all fucking people. Jesus Christ.
She looks at me like I'm a right weirdo.
Poor woman. Let her fucking let the Nutters loose on her. Jesus Christ.
We should all be so lucky to have a glass of wine brought to us by a beautiful brunette, though. Lucky guy there. Let's see. So, I think that's a really interesting fight as far as it goes. I'm looking forward to seeing Murataya step it up. He's
you got to figure though, if Haney makes you quit,
yeah.
Murataya's got. I think it's going to stop him. I mean, Haney he quit. That was a horrible quit. I think Murataya stops him.
Yeah, we'll have to be looking at that one. I have obvious questions based on that one, and the main event here, Rob, is Navarrete against Charlie Suarez, who I feel like Suarez has kind of been moved from going about 20 miles an hour to 60 here, and my mind tells me too early. Too much against too much experience here, in barring some sort of a very lucky punch for him. I just think that they're just kind of throwing out Charlie Suarez here and getting Navarrete an easy defense to set up something else. Rob. What the hell? That was weird. What the hell happened? Try again.
Sorry, I got kicked out there, so I didn't actually hear the question. So
sorry
about that.
I'm asking about the Navarrete Charlie Suarez fight. Suarez has not been in with anyone close to Navarrete's talent. I feel like they're throwing him in the deep end way too quick there, and Top Rank is looking for an easy defense for Navarrete so they can line up something more interesting at 130 for them and the company.
Well, one thing about Top Rank is, whether it's LaBeouf or it's Hardy Bob now, is it? Like, he fucking in a rocking chair taking gummies. Like, it's very unlikely to be him doing the matchmaking. LaBeouf more likely. But they very rarely get it wrong on the way up. So maybe he's going to be able to deal with Navarrete. Like, it depends on how much stock they're placing in this guy, because they've Top Rank are fucking shrewd as fuck, man. A lot of times you look at these fights that they made over the years and you think, it might be a step too early, but they know stuff we don't know, that way. So maybe they think Navarrete's there for the taking. Like,
yeah, but here's let me tell you this: if he's undefeated still, I knew that 18-0 with just the 10 stoppages, but he's had more recently than early in his career, it seems. But he's 36-year-old Filipino getting his first title shot. Rob, does that change your outlook on this fight at all?
No, I actually I'm gonna go with the house favorite here, like, and roll with the Filipino guy. The- Navarrete, they might see something in Navarrete here, like it might be time up. Time for a change
Oh,
into the guard.
yeah, for what? For about 6 months.
I don't know.
Oh,
Honestly, I can't call this one, dude. I honestly don't fucking
yeah,
care.
yeah,
Care.
yeah.
Eh.
Justin, you've probably seen more of Suarez than these guys, and I think
You
you might
expect
be.
me to believe Omar Suarez was a stoolie because Sosa said so? Come on.
I just
A great reference.
So I have no. Honestly, I've seen. I think I saw him fight like once or twice, but I mean,
really, that's it.
yeah, these Filipino guys are tough. I mean, there was a guy fighting like a couple weeks ago. They have to like mix cement by hand, and they don't have gloves or really tools. And I think he's a construction worker, so I mean, he's a tough fucker. But I mean, I guess if Navarrete has anything left, I'm gonna take Navarrete to beat him. I don't have a lot of faith with the 39-year-old, whatever he is, Filipino. I don't think.
No.
I think Navarrete should win this fight. But hell, I mean, guys hit the wall pretty fucking out of nowhere, and Navarrete has been in. I mean, how many punches has he taken?
Yeah.
So who knows? I mean, I
Yeah.
don't. Who knows what the hell is going to happen? But that's why you always watch boxing, because there's hope. I mean, we don't count this weekend, but usually, there's always, you just never know what could happen. But Navarrete, you have to figure he thinks he's got something left. But I don't. I'm gonna go against the Filipino.
Yeah, that's where I'm going. I don't know if you want to add anything to this, Des, go feel free. It's not the most captivating main event, but Navarrete's going to get a chance to grab somebody else's undefeated record. I think is the only interesting point of it all.
What I would say about Navarrete, I think the people behind, I think there's a lot of good boxing people behind Navarrete. They really fancy him. They've experimented with a bit of weight hopping, and now I think they're a lot more comfortable at it's super feather, this one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they've tried a few weights, and do you remember? I think I must have joined the Boxing Nutters group on the Friday, and he fought Liam Wilson on the Saturday, and that was my first experience with you, like watching a fight in the middle of the night, early hours, and it was a brilliant fight. And I remember that fight vividly because he'd been quite inactive, Navarrete, and Liam Wilson nearly caught him out that night. And if Liam Wilson had a bit more experience, and if Navarrete wasn't such a good fighter, I think Wilson beats Navarrete on that occasion. But since then, they've kept him really, really busy. He's been out with Valdez twice, Constanceau, Barinchek. I think he's had a really good level of opposition, and he's been kept really active. And I think that's the key with people like Navarrete, keeping their weight right, keeping them busy because they don't come off the rails. He's a proper Mexican fighter, so he got a little bit of a screw loose, no disrespect. And I think he's a good fighter, Navarrete. I think he beats Suarez handily. He takes another person's O, but I think he's on a good track, Navarrete. I don't think he's coming to the end. I think if you get him at the right way, you keep him active, you keep him disciplined, you keep him in the gym, I think you've got a very good fighter on your hands.
Yeah, and there's obviously the unification with Oshaki Foster is something I think Top Rank would very much like to do. So I think they're just getting him a little payday. He's fought in San Diego a few times, seems to get a pretty good crowd there. So yeah,
and when you look at that run of opponents, if anyone deserves a payday, because that's how we do it, you have two hard ones, one softer one, two hard ones, one softer one, and you build to a super fight. And if he's fighting Oshaki Foster next, which is an absolutely brilliant fight and a really hard fight, I think he deserves a softer one.
Yeah, I'm fine with that because honestly, I have a hard time complaining with Navarrete because he is one of the most active title holders in boxing, and I think
great value for money, right?
Oh, 100%. He's always in there throwing punches. He can just easily get put on his ass, put people on their ass.
I think Rob said it, and he's one of the Mexican goons. He's one of those guys. Yeah, he's one of those guys. Navarrete is the definition of one of those guys that are still left. He is the goon. I mean, he is up and down. Exactly what Rob said. That we still have a few left, and he's one of them.
Yeah, he's good fun. I enjoy him very much in the ring. But
I feel like when Salido retired, that was the last of it. Like it was the last of the Mohicans. Like he was on the way. It was the last of the pure, like hit you in the balls. Fucking, do you know what I mean? One of them, like hit you in the balls, headbutt you. One of those, like.
Oh man, the last of the dying breed, and I'm sure many fighters are appreciative of that, and their testicles even more so. But Rob, you like strange cards. You like all that obscure shit. Like, how'd they figure this out? Well, and it's going to be available on ESPN Plus this coming Saturday. So lucky everybody. But you like this. I think he lost again. So back to Equatorial Guinea with Nico Ali Wash. He'll be taking on Ebenezer Sowa over 6 rounds, but that's going to be in support for Soleimane Sissoko against Adijas Kavalauskas. Yeah, they got him in there against the Mean Machine in Equatorial Guinea. What an interesting card, Rob.
What a great bunch of lads. The Equatorial Guineans. I always say this, you always hear me talking about them. Fuck me, Nico Ali Walsh is dragging the life out of this. Like, is he? I'm probably more related to Muhammad Ali than him. Like, aren't I? Really? Like, this is a fucking grift as well. Like, isn't it? Fuck's sake! What is he? The great grand nephew or something, or the great grand? What is it? What's the?
I think he's Layla's son.
Oh, he's Layla's son, right? Okay.
No, he's not. He's not Layla's son. He's like some daughter. He it's not that close. Rob's right.
It's a loose affiliation, isn't it?
Yeah. They only ever show the one picture he had with him, probably the one visit he got to make, and that's the only picture they ever show. They don't show any other pictures. One picture when he was like 7. And so yeah,
he
Rob's
probably got
right.
that at a meet and greet as well, like, didn't he? That's not a fucking.
His mom is Rashida Ali.
Yeah,
well, let's put it this way: the skill sets are not transferable. Yeah. He's been around the fucking houses. How many trainers has he had now? I think Sugar Hill got rid of him, didn't he? And a few others. Like,
Dude, hold on, Rob. I gotta say this. So, what do you think Rashida Ali does for work, and how much do you think her son just wants to like piss her off? I'll give you.
God knows. Don't tell me she's on OnlyFans. Is she on OnlyFans?
No, she's a Parkinson disease advocate.
Is she? They're big salaries then.
From what her dad went through, and then her son just like, fuck it, I'm gonna jump in the ring too. Well, at least he'll be connected to all necessary resources.
You gotta feel bad for the Guineans.
He's not as elusive as the fucking grandfather or great grandfather either. Like, he takes a lot of shots from what I can see. I don't know how this is going to pan out. But
he's not as elusive as present day Ali is.
That's fucking.
I mean, he's not elusive at all.
Jesus. Yeah, well, look at. I'm sure Equatorial Guinea. In Equatorial Guinea, man, he's probably like fucking. I don't know, like fucking like Drake or someone. They're going to be out in their droves to go see Nico Ali Wash in Equatorial Guinea and the Mean Machine Cavaliers, because it's probably the greatest thing that's ever happened to the country. Not that I know much about the region, you know, that way. Like, I can't really give you too many insights here. Like, hopefully it all goes well anyway. We see them all back. How many hasn't Nico Ali Wash already been beaten as well?
Couple times.
Yeah, a couple of times. Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Funnily enough, though, Rob, I'm reading a book at the moment. It was sent to me by
Put him in the winner against Eubank and Bain.
Rob, I'm reading a book at the moment. It was sent to me by my friend Michael, and it's called The Big Fight. It's by Dave Hannigan, and it's when Ali conquered Ireland. And if anyone fancies reading a book about Ali and his involvement when he went over to Ireland, I think he fought at Croke Park. It's a brilliant book.
He fought Al Blue Lewis in 1972, I think, in Croke Park.
Yeah, it's a brilliant book.
My uncle was at that one, actually. Yeah,
really?
There's a great one of his. Yeah. And one of his best TV interviews is actually with an Irish guy who had a chat show at the time. It's on YouTube. You can pull it up. But he was less defensive because Parkinson, remember, was getting at him over his religion and that, like, wasn't he? He was fucking. He was trying to agitate him a little bit about the Black Power thing and about the fucking religion, and he was a lot more relaxed. In the Irish interview, and he was talking about like identifying with the Irish struggle, yada yada. But yeah,
well, funny enough, Rob,
unbelievable.
I'm only halfway through the book, and the first half really talks about the history of Ireland and the struggles of the people, and how boxing was a release. But it started to get into how much Ali loved Ireland. But question for you: he's not the only American heavyweight champion that adores Ireland. Do you remember who the other one was?
Roy Patterson's wife
Yeah,
is from
Patterson.
Donegal, I believe,
Yeah,
isn't she?
Patterson loved
Yeah.
Ireland. He adored
Yeah,
Ireland. Yeah, yeah,
Floyd Patterson was a guest on the Late Late Show a good few times,
yeah.
which was a massive fucking TV show. So yeah, there you go. You don't get this shit anywhere else. Look at that. Look at that for a segue.
Yeah, but
Um,
I've got to give the shout out to the book. It was Dave Hannigan. It's called The Big Fight. Sent to me by my mate Michael, who knows I love a bit of reading. I love a bit of boxing and Ireland. So big shout out to Michael. It's a great book. If you fancy it, it's worth a read.
Good stuff. Oh, you should anyway. While we're on this, you should quickly, anyone with a fucking 5 minutes on their hand, look at Muhammad Ali commenting on his trip to Ireland. So there's like a video diary that they did, and they bring him to a hurling match, and he's like, his mind is blown by watching the hurling, and then like someone gives him whiskey, and he's like, they call it water of life. That's crazy.
What was he like? What did he make of the hurling, Rob?
He said he wouldn't do it. He said he wouldn't play it for love or money, like fucking fellas hitting each other with big sticks. Yeah.
I bet.
I want to I'm gonna WhatsApp you, by the way, because I'm trying to find a guy that I think you might fucking have met over the years or bumped into over the years, but I'm gonna fucking WhatsApp you then after the show. But
all right. Well, anyways, if anybody wants to watch that, I think we were talking about Sissoko against Kavalauskas from Equatorial Guinea. You can watch that on ESPN Plus on Saturday. Let's see here. What would you want to go to next? Speaking of Japan, this would be Sunday morning. We got the rematch between Fernando Martinez and Kazuto Ioka. I'm looking forward very much to this fight. Hopefully, we'll get a chance to see it stateside somehow, some way. Otherwise, we'll go through the means and we'll get it. But this is a really nice 115-pound fight. These guys both produced. Their first fight was solid. I thought that Martinez won it fairly clearly. Ioka has a good history in rematches, though, so this will be a very interesting fight, and I think that there's potential for the winner to fight Kenshiro Taraji maybe as he moves up in weight. So I've got definitely got my eyes on that one. Again, the good fights happen in Japan. If anybody has anything to say about this fight, please step in and feel free. Sad. All right. Also on May 10th, the night before there, from Florida, going to have Erickson Lubin and Ardrell Holmes on a Pro Box card. And I think that's going to be an eliminator at 154 pounds. So that's a fairly decent fight, Justin. Whatchamacallit, Lubin is obviously, he's going to have a tremendous experience advantage in this one, but I wouldn't count Holmes out because Lubin just finds ways to shit the bed. And even though I want to bet on it, I don't think that he beat Jesus Ramos when they stepped in the ring about 18 months ago or so, whenever it was.
Well, I mean, I think you just said it. Holmes, this is a massive step up for him. He hasn't fought a soul, anybody worth anything, but I'm actually going to pick him to beat Lubin because I don't think Lubin was never that great. I don't think he has anything left really, and I think Holmes might have enough. Like I said, but Holmes, he hasn't fought a soul, so this is going to be one of those fights. I guess it's kind of like if Holmes is good, we're going to find out because Lubin can't really take a shot. You're right. The Ramos fight was a horrible robbery. Because I don't think Lubin even won like 3 rounds in that fight and still won it. So, but at least Pro Box, you're going to get to hear Polly talk, and at least they've got like the real ring card girls, not all the random shit we've seen lately. At least they're going to be what we expect the ring card girl to look like. And I like him and Algieri, so that those cards are fun just to listen to, and because Polly just he's just a great commentator. I wish he hadn't have fucked up. Because we need him. Because, I can imagine him, because even when he was supposed to be a company man, could you imagine him on those cards Friday and Saturday?
Oh yeah, he would
would
have gone. He would have
Paulie would have
raged.
been letting it fly Friday and Saturday. I mean, he would have. They probably would have turned his mic off because he would have been just spewing shit the whole time. So that's the kind of guys you need, and not a guy that's sitting there during the whole Canelo fight talking about how good Canelo was when a blind man can see how bad he was. So yeah, I wish Paulie was doing those fights, but I'm gonna lean Holmes. I think Holmes will get him.
Yeah, and he's not much of a puncher. I think that he's dating Clarissa Shields, or they did, or some shit like that. He was out of the ring for
Hey,
about.
hey. Don't you speak about Papoose' woman like that. Fucking Clarissa Shields is dating rapper Papoose.
Oh, there you go. Sorry.
It's been a whole big thing, Maddie. You're not as fucking
I'm
up on
sorry
Black
for
Twitter
not
as
being
myself.
aware.
Yeah.
Whenever I hear Papoose, I think like, isn't that what they call like an Indian child?
Yeah, the quote was with him.
I think it's called a carrier for an Indian child. Actually, that's a popular misconception. It's the papoose is what you carry the baby in. Yeah,
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, the quote was with him Friday night. She was like front row.
Oh, there you
There you
go.
go.
Yeah,
But,
they were there.
But yeah, he is from Flint. He's 30 years old now. Like, he was out of the ring for like 2.5, 3 years there. But he's been on a good run. He beat the records of the guys he's beat since then when he returned in 2022 is 13-1-1, 12-0, 14-1, 10-1, 10-2, 9-0. But he's not much of a puncher. He was only able to stop one of those fighters. And I don't know if Harrington had been stopped in their other defeat. No, so maybe he might be all right. Never know. But you might be right, but I think Lubin has enough for Holmes. I think that it's going to take somebody with some sting to really give Lubin hell, and I don't think that Holmes is going to be that cat. Just my hunch. We shall see. But that will be on Saturday, probably at the same time as the Top Rank card. God, there's going to be a lot of crap to watch. My God, hopefully it's better than this last weekend. Just like rather literally freaking die than go through that again. Let's see here. And then, there we go. And from Nottingham, we're going to have, I don't know how much of this. Let's see here. We'll start there on the undercard. You're going to have Owen Cooper against Chris Congo, Ezra Taylor against Troy Jones, Liam Davis against Kurt Walker. All that leading up to Anthony Kakachi and Lee Wood getting it on 12 rounds, junior lightweight. Des, give me your thoughts on this card.
Matty, could you please come back to me? I'm just dealing with something, and I'm going to come back to you. Is that okay?
Oh, that's fine. Rob, can you take that?
I absolutely can. What was the question? I think we're dealing with the same thing, me.
The Nottingham card with Kakachi and Wood, Davies and Walker, Taylor and Jones, Owen Cooper and Chris Congo.
Yeah. I don't know much about the undercard, but I'm really fucking intrigued for the Kakachi and Wood fight. Wood did well against Belfast before, didn't he, with the Michael Conlon fight? And then kicked on from there. It's an interesting fight because everyone in the Irish boxing scene always said that Anto Kakachi had under-delivered on his talent. He was the one that a lot of people predicted would do massive things in the sport based off his talent, but he hadn't put it all together until he won the world title. And then I think he vacated the title, didn't he, with this one with this one in mind after beating Cardina. So I think that'll be nip and tuck. Wood always has that puncher's chance. And that's not saying he's a bad fighter, by the way. I think he can bide his time. He's tough as fuck. He can weather storms, and he can wait his chance in the fight to unleash that big shot. But I think younger, fresher, sharper, maybe a little bit bigger. Kakachi's work might be a little bit cleaner. He might be getting him at the right time. So yeah. Shout out that guy who's mentioning Gene Tunney, by the way, because I'm gonna get fucking emotional now. Gene Tunney's my dad's favorite fighter. Well, Gene Tunney and Jack Dempsey, the two of them. But yeah, I'm not being like just because he's Irish backing Kakachi. I just think he's a little bit sharper at this stage of their careers. But I think that'll be a right tear up, and hopefully it'll be a good all action fight. Because Wood can fucking punch, man. He's got dynamite in his hands, like, and he's a likable kid as well from Nottingham. He's done it the hard way, like. You couldn't begrudge him any of it. You couldn't begrudge Lee Wood any of his success. It was all earned, rather than given to him. So, and the same with Kakachi. So I think it's just Kakachi's time now, and this is a big fight for him. And there might be a little bit of revenge for Conor there as well. So we say I'm going to edge towards Kakachi on decision for that one.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Wood might have been maybe past his best. Then I think Kakachi, if he's the same he was versus Cordina, then I think Kakachi just
Well,
works
see,
it.
it's a pity Steve Wellington is not around at times like this, because he would have known from being up around the Belfast and that, like, the opinion on Kakachi is that everyone was so high on him, like they were all thinking that he was going to be the next big thing, and just some fighters maybe eclipsed him, like Tommy Mack and Tyrone McKenna. They probably had bigger, higher profile fights up until he got his shot against Cordina, but. I think there was method in the madness for him vacating, like with this Wood fight. They probably feel like it's the right time.
Well, when he lost
And I
to
just
Martin
think,
Ward, that kind of screwed him. And that was a long time
yeah,
ago, but that kind of knocked him off.
yeah, knocked him off course. Like, they say he wasn't living the life, which I can fucking understand as well. Like, who the fuck am I? Do you know that way?
Yeah.
I'm not living the life, and I don't even have to fucking compete. Like, so fucking yeah. No, I just think Kakachi be too sharp. I think he's had a taste of success now. He's had a taste of a world title. He won't want to give it up. Like, he'll seize his moment. But like I
Like you
said,
said,
Wood's
though, Lee
always in
Wood.
that fight, isn't he? Like, that power doesn't leave.
Yeah.
Like, he's always in
Like,
the
because
fight. Like,
Conlon was bossing that fight until he wasn't. And
dude,
I could see
that fight.
Yeah.
You feel so sorry for Mick Conlon in that situation, because he's such a fine margin. Like, he levels him in the first round when there's only like 4 fucking seconds to go or something in the round. If that knockdown had happened 10 seconds earlier, Wood doesn't get out of the first round. And then
No,
he
he was
just
fucked.
fucking,
Wood was
he was
fucked after
fucked.
that.
And Conor was pinging him, but there was something in Wood. You could see the fight turn, and there was something there when you're like, hold on here. This guy's fucking, he's still in this fight. Like, he's got something, and he's after hurting Conor. He froze him a few times, and you're like, oh God, he's running out of steam. And then the knockout was brutal. Like, so
With it, Wood,
he's
you could
got
tell,
that.
like, once he got up and realized, hey, I can take his shots now. He started to he started to take them. He realized that he's not going to hurt me again. I'm getting through it, and then he just started, like you said, start pounding him. Once he realized, hey, he's not going to hurt me now. I'm kind
And it
of.
was like Mick's power wasn't carrying.
It wasn't.
The
It wasn't
further
because
the fight
Wood
went,
started taking him.
it was like he was expending so much energy to stay in there. That was a cracking fight, by the way. Fucking brilliant atmosphere and everything. Obviously, I wanted Mick to win that one, but like I said, you can't begrudge Wood any of the accolades that he's got, because he's fucking done it all the hard way, and he toughs it out in fights as well, where you think he's dead, and to come back in that spectacular fashion, like, he kind of. That was the only thing was sick of fucking Ben Davison saying it was part of the plan. It was part of the plan. He was going to get shelled for fucking 10 rounds, and then he's going to fucking eject the lad out of the ring. Like,
it's like the Algieri. Remember, he fought Pacquiao. They were like, well, part of the plan was we were going to give away the first like 7 or 8 rounds.
Yeah, that's they're going to let him out of the cage,
and then we're going to like turn it on and like, come on, bullshit. Yeah, but
his manager said that famously live on air, didn't he? Said it to
he's like,
we're going to let him out of the cage. Like, oh, big right hand from Pacquiao.
Yeah, we're going to give him the. But they made it. I remember that Wood fight. My stream went out a minute before the knockout. So when it come back in, I saw Conlon getting pulled out of the.
Oh, scary knockout! I thought he was dead that night. Honestly, that was a hat in the mouth moment. Like, I honestly thought
that was like the Pacquiao knockout.
Yeah, that was probably the worst.
It was
knockout of the ring, knockout like out of the ring, because he fell, didn't he? Through and fucking landed on that. It was up there with B Hop and Joe Smith.
Yeah.
But that was more comical, wasn't it? Like, Hopkins was kind of lying on the ropes, and then all of a sudden he's out, and then he's up complaining again that he was fucking pushed out of the ring.
I wasn't ever worried about Hopkins. I was just like, God, fuck him. He should never be in the whole time with Hopkins. You're like, he should never fucking be here anyway. Now we got to watch him crawl out of the damn back into the ring. It's like, what the fuck?
I think it was that inactivity. He had like 14 months inactivity at 48 after a drubbing from Kovalev. Probably wasn't the best move to go and fucking fight Joe Smith at 168 as well. He went down the weight. Like,
what screwed Hopkins is he had the mindset of 10 years ago Hopkins. Yes, you would have destroyed him, but he wasn't thinking the fact, hey, this is today Hopkins. He didn't put that together. Like, hold on a minute. I can
He
beat
shipped
him, yeah, but
heavy
8 years
punishment in
ago.
that Kovalev fight. And
Yeah.
he shipped so much. Kovalev was at his apex. He was so fucking strong, and he shelled Hopkins that night. Like, and I think that was those two fights he should have never had, maybe. But balls on Hopkins to fucking take a fight with
See,
Sergey
you,
Kovalev. Fuck me, man.
we just talk about these cards, how shitty they were. You're right. We don't have guys like that anymore. We don't have hard Hopkins guys. These guys wouldn't took the fights Hopkins took. Fuck no, they wouldn't have come. They wouldn't have took these fights, and then they sure as hell wouldn't have put their balls on the line and went after Kovalev. These
No,
guys
remember
wouldn't do
that?
that shit.
Well,
None of
that was
that.
very short lived, wasn't it? Like, I remember, I'll never forget that. Like, because that was Hopkins always used to like change levels on the jab, and then he'd fade the fucking jab under, throw the right hand over, then headbutt you on the way in, and then go for the clinch. And he did that against Kovalev. Kovalev took a half step back, dropped the fucking right hand from power on top of his head, and he was like, "Oh shit!" Then
Yeah,
he
because
just
that
survived
was
there for the rest of the fight. Like,
prime Kovalev. That was
yeah,
not the guy that you
that was
pull
the
that shit
crusher.
on. Yeah,
Yeah, that was the crusher. Like,
It was before alcohol dulled his
Yeah.
reflexes. He had
Yeah,
very
you're not-
good reflexes for a guy that big.
Referee should have stopped that fight that night.
Yeah.
They gave Hopkins a good turn, didn't they?
My favorite
Yeah,
Hopkins moment though was when he did the push-ups versus the
Pascal.
Canadian guy.
Pascal.
When he was doing the push, and you know Pascal, you could look at Pascal's face. He was like, "Fuck me, like I'm not going to beat this guy." He's sitting there doing
When he-
freaking push-ups and shit. It's not going to
in
happen.
the rematch, I don't know if you remember, we did it on Punches from the Past. So any of the Patreon guys that want to pull up we used to do those kind of specials. Myself, Andy, and Steve. We'd pull up a fight from the past. It was Andy's creation actually, and we go back and we have the fucking crack talk. We do it on a Monday night or something, but just for extra content. But when when they had the rematch, Hopkins actually came to the ring to a version of Frank Sinatra's "My Way" with the ski mask on him, but all the words were changed around to B-Hop, so he got someone to fucking re-record "My Way" with all the lyrics about Bernard Hopkins, like on the fucking way to the ring. Unbelievable, like.
Did you who was the tall light heavyweight that was really fundamentally really awkward and good? I think he got done by Stevenson in the first round, but he had a window in boxing where
Chad Dawson.
Hopkins didn't fancy it with Chad Dawson though, did he?
He pulled a stop. Well, Dawson did pick him up and slam him to the ground in the first fight, like fucking rugby tackled him into the ground, like but he didn't fancy it in the second fight. He stayed on the outside. That was one of the only times.
I think Dawson was a legitimate African American, tall, long, rangy, light heavy. And I think Hopkins thought, I can't wiggle my way around this fella. I just thought he found it really hard.
He wasn't able to fiddle him around, and
he
wasn't able to disrupt him.
around, no.
Athletic and could use their range was hell for him.
Correct.
But after that,
That's
then
it.
to come back, like I thought the night that Dawson beat Hopkins, it was over. Because I never bet against Hopkins. I used to always fucking back him. Like
I agree, Rob. Yeah.
And I thought like maybe he's done here, but he came back to fucking win world titles against Sumanev, win another world title against Tavares Cloud, and set up a fucking unification against Kovalev when he was 47 years of age. Like absolutely unbelievable.
I was at the Shumanov fight when he oldest man to ever unify.
He schooled him. Shumanev was never in the fight.
He did school him. He stood him on his head. He did.
He come out with the alien mask on and shit, and he was it was a pro Hopkins card. And then when those fuckers said we were standing there, I had really good seats beside Rasheed Wallace, the basketball player.
Nice.
And they were like split decision. Oh my god! I thought the crowd was going to. They started throwing shit. They were losing it when they said a split decision. How in the hell you could give Shumanov any? I mean, Hopkins knocked him down.
It was a 12 zip. I thought. What you call it? Fucking. That must have been the first time in history that there was a pro Hopkins crowd because everybody used to fucking hate watching him. Like I loved him. Like I have to say, I loved Hopkins.
That was in DC, and they were all for Hopkins. I mean, first of all, nobody gives a shit about Beirut Shumanov. That was when Sean Porter beat the shit out of Malignaggi, and then you had Kid Chocolate Quinlan beat the crap out of some Czech guy.
That was I tell this story all the time on the pod, but like the time I got to fucking speak with Hopkins, like I was doing music mostly, but I was getting some traction in the boxing world, obviously because of the lyrics and the Irish connection and my love for boxing. People caught it, and then I'm doing some ring walks for the fighters and met a great guy, Paddy Cronin. He's still around, and people would have known him off the forums. Met him at loads of fights over the years, O'Sheen and Andy fights and that. And gone on like a house on fire with him. But he was like, listen, fucking, I think it was called On the Grind Boxing. I don't know if it's still going, but there was a guy called Shug who used to fucking host it. It used to go on for hours, like our pod, like, and it was all some kind of fucking Mixler or some kind of one of those formats, like. And Paddy Crone was like, "Oh, we'll bring you on, like you, R-rated Rugged Man. Remember, R-rated Rugged Man had
Yeah,
set
rugged
fire
man. Yeah.
to Floyd. He's another big boxing head rapper, like indie rapper. Him and Vinnie Paz probably the two best well-known underground rappers into boxing as well. Like two great guys. But Rugged Man was brought on to interview Hopkins and let me get in on it. Like, so I was buzzing, like, you know what I mean? So I'm fucking there, I'm chatting with Rugged Man, I'm fucking chatting with Hopkins. But I said to him, 'cause I was trying to play up to him, like, you know what I mean? Because he's fucking one of my heroes, like, you know that way. And it was like, it was different Rob Kelly. Like, I wasn't like as fluid as I am now. This kind of shit was new to me back then. I could talk about music all day, but against fucking, I'm talking to fucking one of the greatest world champions ever. Like, so I was a little bit starstruck.
Yeah.
Like, so I was trying to get him on side, and
Yeah.
I said to him, like, listen, I thought you nicked the Kazagi fight, but do you think saying, I never lose to a white boy played against you that night, like on the fucking cards? Like, well, he went on a fucking 10 to 15 minute race rant that went from Jim Brown all the way up to fucking modern day, like, and then he talked so much that his battery went on the phone, and they were all hopping with me because they couldn't get him back on the call. His fucking phone went
Do you know,
dead in the middle of it.
Rob, do you know what I've always said with Hopkins, right? Because it's a shame that he can't put the brakes on sometimes. He just doesn't stop talking, does he? And he just goes off on a tangent.
Oh,
And
he
it goes
used
from
to
one
be
extreme to another.
incoherent, man. He
Yeah.
couldn't
But
fucking.
if you could just taper that, I think he'd be a brilliant boxing analyst. I think if you could have him on a channel and listen to Bernard Hopkins, but you'd have to somehow manage it. But if you could get his input, I think he'd be brilliant. I was like Roy Jones and James Toney, all them guys when they talk boxing.
Oh yeah, like you're talking Labley being back in the sport last night. Like um, one of the best Roy Jones commentary clips is when Mickey Ward's fighting Sanchez. I think it's actually in the movie as well, the Mickey Ward movie, like where they're using like the real audio from HBO in the fight scenes. But it was such a stinker up till fucking Mickey Ward dropped him with the liver shot. It was like he goes, this is a terrible fight. Someone should pay me to watch this fight. And Lampy goes to him, someone is paying you, Roy. Or Merchant, wasn't it? It was Merchant. Someone is paying you, Roy. but Hopkins, even better was sorry, Des, go ahead, dude.
No, I got the best Hopkins story I can remember, and it probably got a lot of VAT on it, but it don't matter. It's a good story. Is when Nazim Richardson says the story of they was all in the gym, and there was a white reporter reporting a story,
and
she's interviewing them, and all of a sudden there's a power cut, and all the lights have gone off. So someone's put the switch back on the RCD box. All the lights are on, and where's Bernard? Where's Bernard? And he's outside of it. I'm not going in there in a dark room with a white woman because someone's going to touch her. Someone's going to take something in her bag, and it won't be me because I weren't even in the building.
You won't be able to say if someone touched her on the ass. You won't be able to say that the champ did it. That's what he said. That was the fucking.
I think my favorite Hopkins moment though still has to, when I really started to love boxing more was when he come out and beat Trinidad in front of all those people, and he was not supposed to win that fight, and he come out with his little executioner mask on, and they had the damn sickle,
the Puerto Rican
shit.
flag down in Puerto Rico,
and he come out and he just
2 weeks after 9/11,
he just destroyed Trinidad, and I was like, I love it all. Ever since I was like, I got to watch all the Bernard Hopkins I can because he come in there with the attitude and just that was one of the ultimate fights I've ever watched.
That's a good segue, by the way, because I'm a weirdo, like, obviously, like I'd be thinking about boxing during at random times during the day, but during the day today, or maybe last night, I was thinking about Maddie's Rolly Romero fucking pick coming up, and I was trying to think back to like when did I get it right? Like, and it like pre-pod days, there's two that I fucking told everybody and nobody would listen to me. Bernard Hopkins was 4-1 underdog against Trinidad.
Yeah.
And I was telling everyone who listened to me, Hopkins was going to fucking get to him. Like, and Trinidad was the most fair puncher in boxing at the time. Like, and nobody was having a 4-1 underdog. And my other great one was fucking Rigondo to beat Donaire. Like,
Yeah.
And it's funny because when I was thinking about that, then right, my fucking algorithm, what pops up? An interview with Nonito Donaire, and who's great friends? Nonito Donaire and Rolly Romero for some reason. What kind of fucking unlikely fucking couple is that? Like, Rolly Romero and Nonito Donaire are great friends, and apparently Rolly Romero plays Nintendo Switch with Donaire's kids. So these are your future stars of the fucking current era. Fuck me.
And that reminds me of this great fight between Lee Wooden and Anthony Kakachi. How the fuck
We
did we
covered
get
that when
here?
you were on fucking hiatus. You told us to talk for 5 minutes. You don't think we're going to talk about the current fucking era? There's nothing to talk about. Fuck's sake, they're not even throwing punches. Fucking want us to talk about this.
Starting in about 30 minutes here, we're gonna have another card going in, and this is gonna be from Las Vegas, Nevada, and hopefully they get a good turnout and a nice reaction from the crowd. And we'll get to the main event shortly, but let's go up the undercard and what we're going to see today. Gonna have Art Barrera Jr., Juan Carlos Guerra over 6 rounds, Makito Nakano and Pedro Marquez over 10, Rais Alim and Rudy Garcia at featherweight over 10, Emiliano Vargas, he son of Fernando, he is a hot prospect against Juan Leon over 8, Rohan Polanco, another guy people are keeping their eye on, especially in a wide open welterweight division, taking on brother of Marcos Maidana, Fabian over 10. And the co-main is going to be Rafael Espinosa and Edward Vasquez for Espinosa's titles. So this is actually not a terrible undercard whatsoever, Justin. A couple of decent fights there. It's nice to see Aleem getting out again. He was a very talented guy. What are your thoughts on this one before we get to the main?
I always like watching Espinosa fight. I mean, he just because his height and at the weight, and so he's always going to be fun to watch. I think he should. I would say easy, but I definitely think he should beat Vasquez. But he's just cool because he's like Fundora for the smaller weights. So I definitely want to see him fight. The undercard, I mean, I'm sick. I'll watch it anyway, even if I don't love it. I'll still watch it. But I think it's another decent card, and we don't have to get the main event yet. But Espinosa's decent. I don't care to see Aleem fight. I think he's kind of found his level. I want to see the Nakano fight. He's another Japanese guy. Like I said, me and you were like that. If I see a Japanese guy on the card, I'm going to tune in to see if he's any good. And he looks like he's decent. Medina looks like that should be a good fight. So I'll definitely watch those two. I don't think I'll put too much faith in Aleem, and I'll definitely watch. And like I said, I like Vargas's kid. And you talk about being active. And I think we were discussing that earlier. He's fighting again. This is like his 3rd or 4th fight in like 3 months.
Who's that?
Emiliano.
Yeah, his dad's keeping him out. I love it.
They're getting him out quick. He just keeps scoring. I think this is his 2nd fight this year. He had like 5-6 fights last year. So they're going to keep just bringing him out. I like it. I mean, he should be at this age fighting 4 or 5 times a year, and I think they're going to keep. But I think there's something there. He can bang. I mean, like I said, it's not to live up to be like his dad, but I think he's going to be pretty decent.
Yeah, possibly so, and he would definitely seem to be the Vargas kid with the highest upside. Now, don't count out Vasquez. He might have 2 losses on his record. One is a split decision loss to Raymond Ford, and the other one was a majority decision defeat to Joe Cordina in Monte Carlo in 2023. I don't know. Do you remember that fight, Des? I'm trying to place it, and I can't. Do you believe that? Can you remember if Vasquez had an argument that he won that fight?
No, I don't think he did. I think Cordina won it, but Vasquez don't punch hard enough. That's his problem. He's very he's very proactive, and he looks to get onto you. He'll want to get on the front foot. He can box, but unfortunately, he doesn't have that poke. And if he gets beat, he gets beat by a good kid, and there's not a lot in it. He's not a mug. You can't have him over. But I just think Espinosa will be a bit too big, punches a bit too hard, and he'll just get his range. But don't be surprised if Espinosa has to go to the final bell because Vasquez is stubborn and he's very capable. He's a capable operator, but he just doesn't punch hard enough. And as Justin said, with Espinosa, you've got a giant at the weight, and we've seen it with who's the Cuban kid that I like that he beat a couple of times. He made him quit second time.
Ravizzi Ramirez.
Ramirez, he found out that it's really hard to get inside on Espinosa, and when you're trying to get inside, he lands and he can punch himself. So I think Vasquez is going to find that same problem. But he's a good fighter, and he gave Cordina a good fight, and he also gave Roma Ford a good fight.
Yeah, and this I'll tell you, this fight with Aleem, I'm gonna have to take a look and see what the numbers are in this one. Garcia, another guy who really can't punch much. And Aleem has been out of the ring for I feel like he might have been out of the ring since he fought.
Yeah, it's good to see. It's good to see Aleem back. It's good to see Aleem back. We expect him to come through that one with Garcia, but if he's rusty or if he's a little bit slow, Garcia could catch him out. Same for Madonna and Polanco. Polanco's a good talent, but Madonna can punch, and Madonna's been at a good level, so Madonna could catch Polanco out if he's not at it. It's a good undercard, and of course, Emilio Vargas is out as well. He should come through, Leon, but it's another good fight.
Yeah, and Madonna. The problem with you have a brother who is as big of a puncher as Marcos was, is that even if you're a pretty decent fighter with reasonably heavy hands, it's a really high benchmark that's been set there already. So, this is a decent looking undercard. But Rob, this is all going to be just an appetizer for the man himself. Is he pound for pound number one or not? Some people say he is. I think 1A, B, and C between him, Usyk, and Crawford. What are you going to do? I'm not going to argue against either one of them. But Naoya Inoue taking on Ramon Cardenas. I have seen Cardenas a couple of times on Pro Box cards. He is a full-sized junior featherweight. I've seen him get up off the canvas, but Rob, he's not a guy who does anything great, but he does everything all right. And he's a sturdy guy. I put a little bit into the idea that Inoue is going to knock him out in the later rounds. The over-under is at 5.5. I'm leaning later half just because I really think this is honestly the first full-sized junior featherweight that Inoue has met at this point in his career.
And that's going to be the only thing that eventually undoes him, if anything does, because everybody stays on too long. Fighters retire undefeated, maybe a little bit more now than what we're used to in the history of the sport, but you don't often get away unscathed. But it looks like for the fighters that he's fought, there's been such a fucking gulf. The only one that I remember giving him a reasonably close fight, I think, was Donaire in the first or second fight.
That first Donaire fight was so fantastic. I mean, that body shot Donaire went down from and got up. I mean, that was all heart. He broke Inoue's jaw. A total modern classic, that fight, honestly.
Yeah, but Nonito was in a fucking purple patch revival period where he fucking recaptured his early form, and was fucking tearing through guys and upsetting the odds and rolling back father time. But he was just even that for that version of him to give him trouble. I think Inoue even learned so much from that fight. And I think that the caliber of guys that he's been able to just fucking destroy are good fighters. He's just a great fighter. So the only thing that's gonna undo him is eventually if he just fucking goes too big. Floyd was one of these guys who was calling him out to come to America and fight up the weights, come and fight Tank Davis and all this kind of carry on. He's a small guy who's already probably fighting 2 weights above his best weight. But a scary fucking guy. What do you do against a fella with that so much talent? He said it so many times. He puts you wherever the fuck he wants to. He puts you wherever he wants to put you. And look what he did to Fulton. The technique on the finishing shot for Fulton, not even the one that dropped him heavily the first time, the one that eventually had the fight stopped. The torque he gets on his, I hate to get nerdy on the pod, there's so much of this fucking boxing analysis stuff like that, in-depth fucking technique talk on YouTube these days. Everyone's a boxing coach, but the way Inoue turns his hands over at the very last millisecond, he gets so much whip on the shots, and it was such a fucking short, perfectly thrown left corkscrew left hook right on the fucking button. He's so accurate as well.
What the fuck do you do with him if you're a below average fighter, even if you're a couple of pounds up? Once he gets going and once he gets powering, like, and he gets into that rhythm and the snap is there on the shots and he turns over that right hand, man, fucking scary accuracy as well. The accuracy, fucking, I just like it's like a shark smelling blood in the water when he just fucking switches that button on and he goes for the finish. Like he's fucking a scary, scary dude. So this guy you said is good at getting up off the canvas. Well, that might stand him in good stead because I'm feeling he's gonna have to do it. Like unless he fucking like him beating fucking Inoue will be to hardcore boxing fans probably the biggest upset fucking the last 10 years or something. Like when you think of a bigger one, Andy Ruiz versus Joshua or something like that, where it's just totally against the odds. And that's probably closer on paper than this one. Like I can't see him being able to do anything with
The
Inoue. I think this
widest
is a
fight
good.
in recent memory I can think of, honestly, Rob, was Munguia against Srirac, the first fight. That's
Yeah.
because I think that Srirac was outside of 10-1, I think, in that fight.
Munguia had a style that you could see someone fucking undoing him, even if it's a 10-1, didn't he? Like, 'cause he just comes
Yeah,
forward.
but
He
a
didn't have
fucking
like,
Frenchman with
yeah,
4 knockouts. Who could fucking
yeah,
write
but he's
that
rock'em
script?
sock'em Munguia, isn't he? Like he can get caught at any time. Like the WBC wouldn't sanction him fucking fighting Golovkin one time. Everyone had an assessment of him. Remember they needed a late replacement for a Golovkin opponent one time, and Munguia's name was on the table. Nobody had ever heard of him, and WBC shut it down. They were like, no. So he had like just that fucking style. Like he can get undone. And I get it's a big upset, but like if this guy fucking goes and beats Naoya Inoue, fuck me, man. It's
Which one
Corey
would you?
Sanders territory, isn't it? Like,
Yeah,
yeah, I
let's
don't
take a
think
look
I
and
don't
see
see it,
what
and
we
for
get
that
there.
reason, I don't see it happening remotely. Like, I think Inoue will stop him when he wants to stop him.
Yeah, let's take a look and see what that was. I know that earlier I could have taken Inoue to win in round 7 through 12 at 2-1, but it just a tenth of a point less than that. I could get either fighter to win round 7 through 12. So it's like, well, why don't we just cover that stupid base? Because wouldn't that be the day? Yeah, right now, Rob, Cardenas is paying 15-1 as the underdog. You'd have to lay.
Oh, that tells you everything. 15-1 underdogs don't win in boxing matches generally. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
what
That tells you all you need. 15 to
I,
1 in a fight with two guys in it.
I'd have to lay down $50 on Inoue just to pick up $1.
Yeah, there you go.
And
So I'd say, yeah, it could be under. It could be under. It depends. Like if he wants to put on a show, it depends on when he picks up the fucking. If something happens, he catches something early in the early fight. It might propel him into. He's a bit of that as well, isn't he? Anyway, you have to watch when he does get tagged. Like he gets his fucking lick back. In fucking spectacular fashion. Like he doesn't like it, you getting something off on him like either. He takes it personally almost like all the great fighters. He has that spite on him. Like, yeah, so I think I think he'll stop whenever he wants. But don't listen to me, man. I thought fucking Ryan Garcia was going to stop Rolly Romero. Whatever Matty says, listen to Matty tonight.
I no,
He's giving his
I've
prediction in Japanese.
I,
Arigato.
I've got to fucking crash and burn at this point in time, Rob. There's ebbs and flows to this stuff, and there are far more ebbs than flows.
Yeah, we know that.
Just give you so Inoue is such a big favorite in this one. To him to win by KO, TKO, or DQ, you'd have to lay 10 to win 1. It's wide. It's a big one. Justin, I think the only thing that we could say as far as it goes with Inoue, because he does do a very good job at cutting off the ring. He's got good legs. His defense isn't great, but his in and out is his offense and defense at many times. He can cut off the ring. But you did see a fighter who's started his career at lower weights in Luis Neri drop him a couple of fights ago. It really comes down to the idea, if you're going to beat this guy, you're probably not going to be able to outbox him. He's going to beat you to the corner, and then he's going to lay some shots. You just have to find that moment and throw with him. And I like Cardenas. I just don't know if he's got the sting to make that happen.
Well, Neres was probably on the juice. He's a drug cheat, so I don't really take that knockdown for much anyway, because it probably wasn't a fair knockdown anyway. But
he was a big swinging puncher always.
Yeah, and I think
punch.
I can't add a lot. Rob pretty much summed everything up. I think the only interesting in this fight is that you kept saying Cardenas is the first like legit guy at the weight. That's the only thing that can make this fight go longer, is if Inoue just takes a little bit longer, because this guy is a full-fledged at this weight. That's the only thing that that could be interesting. Can this guy maybe take the shots longer because he's, this is his natural weight class? There's going to be no drama. There's going to be no excitement in this fight. There's going to be no anything. It's just, I think the fight school, you're just going to watch it and say, how long is it before he knocks him out? Cardenas doesn't offer anything that's going to give Inoue any trouble. And like I said, if Inoue, just because, he has moved up so much, it just depends on what kind of shot this guy can take because he's bigger. There's nothing else to add to this. Inoue is my pound for pound number one. I like Usyk, but Inoue is the number one guy for me, period. He's my leader. And so there's nothing Cardenas is going to do to change any of this.
And I'll take that back. Stephen Fulton was at the time a 122 pounder full fledged. Now at 126. So I'll take that back. Because Tapala started at lower weights, Neri started at lower weights. Doheny is old and had a sciatica, and Kim the Korean guy. There's just, you can't really rate him.
And one thing we love about Inoue is we're not going to see any bullshit from him like we saw the other guys this weekend.
Oh, fucking knock on wood, Justin. Jesus Christ.
There's no way. Inoue knows what he's there to do, and he's not going to, he knows he doesn't get paid to go 12. He's going to be there to do what he has to do. He's not going to chew his food. He's just going to get in there, and if he gets him, he gets him. We're not going to see any BS. Like you said, if he does get hit, he's going to hit him back. He's not going to go into a shell and try to just win the decision. That's what you love about Inoue, because he's not going to fuck around. And I don't, Cardenas, I'm going to say the only hope for him, the best scenario for him is that he gets past 6 rounds and he can hold his head up and said, hey, I went 6 or 7 rounds with Inoue. That's probably his best hope for this fight.
At 122 pounds, Inoue has gone 8, 10, 6, 7, and 4 rounds up to this point. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's interesting that the story is like how many rounds can he last? And I think that's really when you can tell, Des, that a fighter is in their prime, and they're the A class of the A class of the A class. When you're talking about going in against a 26-1 legit contender, and you're just asking yourself, what round is he going to get sparked in?
Yeah, I think I agree totally. I think Cardenas will come and have a go. So in contrast to someone like Ryan Garcia, who is flat, and perhaps we can label that Canelo last night as well, in a flat performance. Cardenas won't be guilty of that. Cardenas will come and have a go, and he'll be proactive. But you're being proactive against one of the top 3 pound-for-pound fighters in the world. So it's either Bud, Inoue, Usyk, whatever order you want. And there's every argument that this guy's the number one. In terms of upsets, Inoue occupies the same spot Mike Tyson occupied in the late and early 90s. So if Cardenas does turn him over, this will be like a Buster Douglas and Mike Tyson type upset. It'd be something no one ever saw coming, and no one can say they thought Cardenas was going to win. Inoue is that special talent because he's got stuff you can't teach. He's got his unbelievable punch. He gets you with both hands. He gets you close. He gets you long. He can get you going backwards or coming forwards. He's just a unique talent, and he's a very special fighter. I'm thinking, what can Cardenas have to claw onto? Well, Inoue's boxed in America a couple of times. He's boxed in Glasgow. He's travelled. We know he's got the comfort of being at home most of the time, where he's a huge star and he sells out arenas. But he'll be comfortable in Vegas at the T-Mobile. It's just an brilliant all rounder. I think it was you and Rob talking about the Donaire fight. I think a talent like that learns from mistakes. They learn from hard nights, and he really learned from that first Donaire fight, and he's only got better. And when you think about the guys that Inoue has boxed recently, the talent is off the scale. How he made Stephen Fulton look, and we've seen Fulton look brilliant against Figueroa, Tapales and Neri. I just think that you're talking about a generational great here. That we, you know, if boxing is still around and the world is still spinning 100 years time, we'll be talking about Inoue the way we talk about the past greats of boxing. He's that good. The only thing that's going to catch Inoue out will be the weight. If he keeps creeping up and they keep enticing him up, and he ends up in there with a monster at feather or beyond. If he goes in there with one of them type of guys, that could catch him out. Age and weight, but with the greatest respect, Cardenas don't catch him out tonight.
Yeah, I have a feeling that you are correct on that.
But
Rob,
Matty, can I just say something? Can I just
go
say
on.
something, Matty? You made a really salient point, and it's typical of this pod. Someone like a Cardenas who's 26-1, who's a world-class operator, who can punch a bit, who's beaten world-class guys, we give him zero chance against Inoue. That's how good Inoue is.
Yeah, he hasn't lost since 2017. You know, when a guy's on a run of that nature, I mean, for all intents and purposes, they've got the confidence of an undefeated fighter. You know, so it's he's had a career resurgence. It just happens to be that if you want a title at 122, all roads lead to Naoya Inoue.
And that's some run as well. Sorry to but Pedrosa, Picasso, Rubio, Acosta. That's a good run, but we still give him no chance because that's how good Inoue is. Sorry, mate.
Yeah, like I said, the only thing that I think people are potentially missing on this is his general durability and the fact that he can probably make it to the last half of the fight would be my hunch at the least there. But yeah, he's solid. And Rob, I guess the only guy anywhere near the weight classes who I have any real curiosity how they'll perform in the ring against Nakatani, and this would be 122 South, or excuse me, Inoue at 122 South is Nakatani. I think as far as it goes, and you're not that big into Japanese boxing, but I think that Inoue against Nakatani is a fight that would even intrigue you.
Like the Japanese footballers a lot better because most of them are playing for Celtic at the moment. But yeah, no, I like Nakatani. Everything I've seen from him, I like him. I think he's a fucking another Japanese export that the casuals could be fucking plugged into, like with the
He's
right
just a
fights.
real puncher, right? That's the thing.
Like
He's a real puncher.
He's entertainment. Like, I mean, you look at it like, why would you fucking not want to watch Nakatani and then go watch fucking Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia and fucking Billy Skull? Like, fuck me. Like, you want to see these guys on bigger platforms and getting kind of international eyes on them more. Like I like Nakatani. I like explosive punches. Like, you know what I mean? One of my fucking I've got different palette for different types of fighters. Like when I was a kid, I loved big punchers as much as I love boxers. I probably lean more towards boxers, but I love an explosive puncher as well. Like fucking Hearns is one of my favorite fighters of all time. Like I love the guys that fucking go for the knockout. Like so, Nakatani is good. Are they talking about Nakatani and? See, I'm not as fucking tuned into the weight. So are they talking Nakatani and Inoue down the line? Like I keep hearing that on.
They have a really potentially aggressive plan with Inoue, and right now, again, these best made plans laid to waste, as is the title of the episode. The goal is after this fight to have him take on Akhmadaliev in September, and then they want to get him out again in December and something early 2024. So that tells me that if all they're doing is looking at 122 pounds, then I think they're looking at Akhmadaliev, Goodman, and then Nakatani moving up for a Japanese super fight. If they're thinking about one of those fights being 126, I think Goodman would be the expendable option of the two because Nakatani.
Well, who does the weight favor in Nakatani versus Inoue?
It's one of those things where I think that Nakatani is a bit lankier, so I think he has a bit in reach and height on Inoue, but Inoue has a bit more of a muscular build. So it's really tough to say. I think that they're both guys that should probably compete at junior bantamweight that can do better, that can compete at higher weights because of their just absurd punching power that they carry.
Out of the fight, but I thought Fulton had given problems. I thought Fulton would be a bit slippery, like, and he
Me
could do
too.
fuck all with him. Fuck all with him. So, like, I do think Nakatani could give him some issues, but you have to see it to believe it, you know, that way. Maybe get him at the right time if there's like 3 fights in between for him, like you're saying, 3 fights for. But even that they're fucking talking about having a. When was the last time a top fighter fought fucking 3 times a year? On this side, like.
The last time I remember a fighter having just an incredible year, I think Donaire fought 4 or 5 times, like 2010 or something like that, over 2 weight
Darchinian,
classes.
wasn't it?
I don't think it was the Darchinian one. I think this is the one that included the knockout over Montiel. Was in that year.
Yeah.
I think he fought like Montiel, then he fought that big ass African guy that was 6 foot tall if he was an inch. But yeah, he had a good year there. But it's rare. It's rare, and I like that. And that's why I think that the Japanese boxing is potentially the big bright spot that we have in there. Is culturally speaking, there's a greater sense of honor with it, and it just drives them to want greatness, to strive for accomplishment, and it's creating an incredible scene.
They're so passionate about the sports stars over there, and the population is that big, like, that you can be a megastar without ever leaving Japan. I get it. Like, you can be you don't have to be a crossover star in the States. Like, you got your own fucking fan base there, and they love you forever. Like, I get it, totally get it. But can you imagine what an American fighter would earn if he was like Inoue? No matter what fucking weight he was, even if he was down to lower weights. Imagine America or Britain had a fighter that could do what Inoue could do, how big of a star he'd be, like.
Apparently, Inoue is making 8 figures.
No, I get that.
In Japan.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think like that big in Japan is the real thing. Like, you could be a megastar in Japan without fucking leaving the country. I totally get it. But I'm just wondering, like, if we had a fighter on this side of the Atlantic, like, with that kind of fucking ability, what would he be worth pay-per-view wise?
Like a guy from like London that was like, yeah, you're right.
Like
that would be
fucking print of money, like.
Yeah, God, it would tell him he could whatever he wanted. They would have to pay him.
You mean total
excitement? Like,
you mean like a very accomplished 4-weight world champion who knocked out people with no decisions in between for like an 8-year stretch. Over 3 weight classes.
You know what the
like
fucking
that?
crack is. You know what the crack is there. Like, wasn't he? He was fucking on the wrong side of the promotional street for a long time. You're not selling Terence Crawford. I fucking sold Terence Crawford to the people, asshole. You're not going to sell Bud to me. People have sold Bud to me before, often.
It just like shit just doesn't make sense sometimes. It doesn't, and you can't put your finger on the what or the why. And I think much like Canelo refusing to fight Benavidez, Arum and I think Freddie Roach too, getting in the way of Crawford ever fighting Pacquiao was a very big limiting factor that affected boxing in more ways than one than just that fighter and their trajectory.
Well, I don't blame Pacquiao. I would have took that fight. I mean, he was well past it by the time, Crawford was wanting that fight.
Crawford should have had fucking Spence. Crawford should have had Spence. Remember they ran down on each other on the S News, and Crawford had the beanie, like, in the Timberlands, and Spence and him were fucking going verbal gymnastics at each other. Bob Arum came up, and they should have had the fight then. The fight should have happened for Bud then. He would have been able to naturally fucking be the dominant fucking welterweight. Eventually he ends up fucking unifying already. But the Spence and Crawford fight was 5 years too late, like. And I don't necessarily think it was Bud's fault. Like,
motherfucker couldn't drive.
Bud Crawford.
I mean,
Bud Crawford is one of the coolest guys in boxing. He's so relatable. He could cross over. He's boxed 4 times in the last 4 years. It's scandalous how boxing has treated Bud Crawford.
No, I'm glad that you got a chance to listen to that Shannon Sharp interview, because I think of everything I've seen with Crawford talking, I think that was one of the realest things. And I think it might just be like who it was interviewing and
he was always that.
Other.
He was always that. It was just that fucking Ellie Sekback and all those guys were the guys that were covering. Remember when he fucking ran down on Spence and he was like, Spence was like, we can bet 100,000 on that. He was like, let's bet $1 million. And he was like, yeah, but you got hurt by fucking. He's like, he got hurt by Gamboa.
And he goes, and then what happened? And then what happened?
That
He
was
always had it. He always fucking had it. It's just he wasn't in the right vehicle, like, you know what I mean? And Al Heyman paid him back in spite, didn't he? Froze him out. They did fucking. That's the sport. The sport's rotten for somebody all the time. Like the guys that we like can't fucking just have it their own way or whatever. But it is. He was. He was. The world was fucking hidden from Bud Crawford, like, wasn't it? Like, it was fucking. He should have had a bigger platform. Like, he should have. He was never in a fucking fight that didn't fucking end in a knockout, apart from the fucking
Postol.
Madrimov one.
And Postol went 12 with him. That was, I mean, that was.
But
before
a lot
anybody
of people thought Postol was going to fucking school him. A lot of people were fucking saying Postol was going to school him. And
Postol was tricky
as well.
though. He was a tricky ass dude though.
That was after he had knocked out Lucas Matisse.
Yeah, Postol was a tricky dude though to fight. He was really long and skilled. He wasn't an easy guy to fight though.
Threw everything up the middle, and he threw everything in punches.
So people used to criticize Crawford over his resume. I thought his resume was fucking solid out, man. Solid out. Like, he couldn't help who he was fighting at welterweight because he couldn't he was on Top Rank. Like, who at welterweight, I get it, his resume is light. Like, you're fighting the Amir Khans, the Kell Brooks, the fucking guys you can get, the Kavalauskis, because he couldn't get fucking Sean Porter at that time, and he couldn't get fucking Keith Thurman, and he couldn't get fucking Errol Spence. He would have beat the living shit out of all the three of them as well. Like, he did get Porter eventually, who gave him a good fight, by the way. But yeah, I agree with that. Like, it's fucking he didn't. But that's why I hate this fight, but I can't. I know why he's doing this fight. I hate the Canelo fight. Like, I hated that square off in the ring last night. I don't like to see.
But now you think there's more of a chance that he can win.
He's going to win,
of course. But that's what it was made to. The fucking not saying the fiddle was in, but they knew what they were doing when they were getting William Skull from Cuba to fight Canelo. Like, we know what happens when Cubans fight Canelo.
They needed the other belt so that he has a chance to say I was undisputed in 3 weight classes.
But as well as that, it gets people to, he's the ideal opponent because he gets the other belt. But as well as that, it drives the narrative. Oh, Canelo's gone sticky foot. Oh, Canelo's not pulling the trigger like he used to be. This is the time. You look at Bud Crawford and he's taller than Canelo. And he's a sharper counter puncher than fucking. Well, it makes me see what he's like at 160 fucking 8 too, by the way. You know what I mean? But you got to think that he's a guy. He's on the snack program as well, isn't he? Like, famously, so you got to think he's going to make that weight quite comfortably and look pretty good. I don't know. I hate the fight, but I don't mind him getting his money. Like,
yeah, the only thing I can say, Rob, is Hopkins had a career almost, in the doldrums, where he racked up all them record performances.
21 defenses.
No one knew who he was. And then he had that middleweight tournament and he broke out. Then he fought Oscar De La Hoya and went to the next level. And maybe this might be his Hopkins and De La Hoya moment. I'm talking about Bud now.
He's too old though, I think, for that, because
he's too. I think he's too old, to go back down.
And the guys aren't there. And the guys aren't there that Hopkins
exactly
has,
to make him want to come down. Why is he come back down to 54? Or why would he come back to fight Boots Ennis at this stage? Like, for fuck's sake. So
I can see Crawford retiring.
Retirement plan, 100%. If he beats Canelo, he retires with the O.
Yeah,
he's four-time unified fucking undisputed champion. He's rightfully in the history books as one of the best ever. He probably is already for me. I have to say, I think he's a fighter. When you judge fighters that are one of the best ever, you have to see would they survive in any era, and you got to think that fucking Crawford would be in the mix in the 80s, the 90s, or the fucking 2000s. But yeah, if I see him retiring if he unless there's a rematch.
Oh, there'll be a rematch.
Unless there's a rematch.
If he beats Canelo, Canelo is going to going to
unless they get the rematch.
Well, that makes so much money.
That could set up a trilogy.
Yeah, it's I don't know. It's really interesting. One of the things I liked about that, if you watched the video with that Shannon Sharp interview, and this is something I harp on about punchers, Des, it's like the actual physical mass of your hand that matters a lot in punching. And if you look at the size of Crawford's hands against Shannon Sharp, who was like a 6'5", 250-pound tight end, a big man, the dude has some freaking meat hooks.
Yeah, but I've been saying this for years and years about Bud. He's one of them unique guys. He could be a UFC champion. He'd be a kickboxing champion. He'd be a karate or a judo champion. I don't like talking like this, but if Bud Crawford had a street fight on the street, he could kill someone. Now, I wouldn't say that about Oscar De La Hoya or Tito Trinidad or Shane Mosley or Ray Leonard, but I would say it about Marvin Hagler. I would say it about Tommy Earns. I would say it about Roberto Duran. And I'd say it about Bud Crawford. He's a genuine hard man. He's built for this.
Yeah, and just about
It's
every
like that.
heavyweight who competed before 1975.
He'd
kill
built
you in
for
a
this.
street fight.
He's built for this. Bud Crawford is built for this. And
As you like
I-
this, you like
Go on.
this analogy. It comes from the great John Giles, who said about a Scottish player that he played with, how he decided if a player was good is would he kill his granny, Bill, to win the game? Would he kill his granny? And Crawford would kill his granny, would he? Like, you know, in a
I
fucking,
do
you know
like
what I mean?
that. Yeah, I do like that.
Yeah.
He'd take her out quick.
Yeah. He said it to
Yeah.
Gary Russell, didn't he? He was like, one of my favorite Crawford moments. He was like, you know, if this was in the streets, I'd break your neck. He's like, he's a mean son of a bitch. Like,
I think Eddie Earn said to him, you nicked a little bit of money off me. And Crawford went, well, come and take it back then. Like, he can switch like that. He can do that. You know,
Well, you remember Crawford? He got arrested because the guy messed up his car. I mean, he was over to kill him.
I don't want to shed light on this ineptitude while we're sticking on the fucking Irish pundit team, but he said to a woman from Teofimo's camp, I think last night or the night before, "Shut up, bitch, before someone slaps you." He didn't say he was going to do it, but he has that switch. Like, but no, one of his people underestimate his star power. Like they says, like, Eminem walked him to the ring for the fucking hours. Do you know what it takes to get Eminem? Eminem's team approve everything down to what fucking sneakers he wears. You only ever see Eminem in the same brand of fucking Air Max because he has a fucking like, he's micromanaged. Like, he's one of the biggest megastars in the world. And Crawford said his name on the fucking 24/7 equivalent, and he was like, I'm there for him. Like, he fucking walks into the ring. So they really fucked up with Terence Crawford not making him into a money machine. They should have made him the next fucking Marvin Hagler, play on the fucking at that he's a mean killer, like, instead of fucking say, oh well, he doesn't talk much, he doesn't sell himself, and blah blah blah. It wasn't the case. Like, he just didn't know how to fucking use him. Like,
You know, it's a shame. Like, you know, you look back in nostalgia and you wish, you know, people's lives were longer, something overlapped. But I really wish, Rob, that Emmanuel Stewart and Terrence Crawford had more overlap, because I would have really have liked to have seen Stewart call some Terrence Crawford fights and point out all of those things that so many in the boxing public had missed, you know, or just even if he didn't get to call the fights, just to be able to speak his mind on this man and what he's capable of. Like, it's you miss those people with the eye and
to
the
give him,
understanding.
and the Kellermans too, and the Lampleys. Like, that's kind of gone out of the game now. You got your Chris Mannixes, and they don't eulogize fighters the same way as the great pundits did. And Manny obviously wasn't just speaking from a pundit's point of view. He's one of the world's greatest traders and 21 world champions. But he would have loved Crawford because he loved knockouts. Like, he didn't like leaving it up to the judges. It was the Kronk style is to go for the knockout. So, two of them. But like, Bomac did a great job with Crawford, but I think he's a racehorse, isn't he? But he's still, I think he's such a powerful fucking influence on the younger fighters as well. The likes of Keyshawn and Abdullah and all, like, they're all taking something from him, aren't they? Like,
They've got a culture going on. They've got a culture.
Exactly.
Going
like, they're fucking, it's like Enzo, isn't it? Like, in the gym in Wales, like, building a culture there of guys that are coming behind him, like, fucking doing the same things that he's doing. And like, like they say, he's the ultimate competitor. So again, I hate this fight, obviously, fucking for obvious reasons. He's a fucking 140. He's grown into a natural 147 pounder. I think he's up north at 54. I think he's too small still to go to 68 to fight Canelo. But that version of Canelo that we saw last night, low output. You got to think Crawford could fucking make a decision here. It makes it interesting, doesn't it? Like, as long as there's not fucking funny business at the weight. So I don't begrudge him making his massive amount of money. I just hope he doesn't win and get jobbed. You know, that way.
Yeah. No, I'm looking. I that's the one thing I'm excited about from this stupid weekend, is knowing that is still going ahead, and my favorite fighter the last 10 years is going to get a chance to put his stamp on history. I'm just hoping they go about it smart. I hope time comes for the weigh-in that they're not within 3 pounds of the limit. I want that speed advantage for him, and yeah. But I'm looking forward to it. Hot fight. Hopefully, After this weekend of disappointment, God knows we need some good fights, but we have a lot of stuff ahead. You see how late we went. There's a lot of stuff to preview and a lot of stuff to review this week. But I'd like to thank Justin, Dez, and Rob for coming on, and everybody in the chat today. Also, remember, check us out at patreon.com/Boxing Asylum for all the extra fun. But we'll be back with you next week to review all of this good stuff and preview, I believe, the rematch between Johnny Fisher and Dave Allen. What's next for Dave Allen? He's going to be talked about on the next episode of Boxing Asylum Nuthouse. You folks have a great week ahead. I'll see you next time.
We'll never forget.
Yeah, let's get that.
Go to move!
We want to be honest, yeah?
Crying like a little bitch. I've never met a fucking swank that can fight me.
I fell asleep. I fell asleep.
You're a fucking bum, you're a fucking asshole.
Rumpo fucking Steltskin.
But allegedly, Oscar Rivas has failed a test.
7 year ain't. 7 year ain't. I will fucking smash fucking you.
I hope you fucking die.
Be safe.
I love Boxing Asylum. It's as simple as that.